Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great. We good on Facebook. We're good on Facebook. Looks like LinkedIn got his act together today. We are good on Rumble. We're good on YouTube. We are good on X. Let me verify that. We're waiting on. Let me just be sure about LinkedIn before I give it credit. Yesterday it didn't do what it was supposed to do, but today we will see. And if it doesn't, then LinkedIn just misses out. We're still waiting for this to go live on LinkedIn. Instagram looks like it is working. TikTok looks like it's working. Good morning on TikTok. Like the live if you're coming in on TikTok. Good morning, Nikki, over there. Good to see you here as usual. As y'all coming in, tell me your locations. As y'all coming in, tell me your locations in the comments, and let me get a. I'm trying to decide what link I want to put in here. We'll go with this one. So I'm just setting up our pin link on Instagram, and we're just waiting to make sure LinkedIn is working. We're still waiting on LinkedIn. So it might be an issue with LinkedIn. LinkedIn might be having some connectivity issues when it comes to the live streaming. But we are not slowing down for LinkedIn. We'll see if it comes in, it comes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Kingworks 21. Good morning. Connecticut is in the building. Dally Mac, good morning. Good to see you here. Shout out to Connecticut. North Carolina is in the building. Shout out to North Carolina. And speaking of all these locations, today's topic, as y'all can see, so we moved around these boards that now TikTok has allowed, so I can at least give y'all the topic. Topic is going to be Donald Trump's new travel ban. So there's a new travel ban that Trump put in place. We're going to talk about that here today. Michelle checking in from Hershey, PA. Shout out to Hershey. Shout out to Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. Shout out to Dorney Park in Pennsylvania. My hometown is Philadelphia. Not there anymore, but shout out to Philadelphia. I might go there this summer. We'll see. LinkedIn's giving me some trouble. I don't know what the hell is going on with LinkedIn. But anyway, we're going to continue and proceed as necessary. So what we're talking about here today, as I already told you all, is Trump's new travel ban. Please like the live stream as y'all are coming in on TikTok. We need to be hitting 100,000 every single time that I do a live on this application. Can we hit 100,000 likes? Let's start by getting to 1,000 likes. We're at 277 right now. Let's start by getting to 1,000 likes here today. And I was also asking people where y'all checking in from. Cape Cod, Massachusetts is in the house. Shout out to Cape Cod. I have never been there, but I heard that's where people go for vacation. Is that true? Hershey, PA. I shouted out Angelica. Good morning. Checking in from Jersey. Where in Jersey you at, Angelica? Is North Jersey, South Jersey? Shout out to Jersey. Shout out to Detroit. I know some people in Detroit. Dwayne Mitchell, traditional all day, checking in. Good morning. Louisiana is in the house. I was just reading this article yesterday about how Six Flags New Orleans got destroyed during Katrina about 20 years ago, and how they never were able to rebuild it. But now there's some company that's claiming they're going to rebuild it with such a big space, things like 277 acres of space on that land where it was, but it's still in ruins right now, but they're supposed to be getting to work on it. Mark C. Minshew checking in from Wilmington, North Carolina. I know Wilmington because of Michael Jordan. Shout out to Michael Jordan. Sylvia checking in from Houston. I have been to Houston. Houston is great. Central Jersey outside of Trenton. Okay, I've been there. Shout out to Jersey. Michigan is in the building. Bristol, Tennessee. Shout out to Nashville, which I've been several times. If they have Miami's weather, I would move to Nashville. It's a little bit cheaper than Miami. Pecan 10 checking in from Miami. Shout out to Miami. And what is that? Okay. Yes, tap the screen, please, folks. So we have 2,000 already. I appreciate that. Let's get to 3,000. Cape Cod is a summer tourist trap. Beautiful place. Okay, yeah, so that's what I thought. I thought that's what I heard about it. Dot 420 checking in from Florida. Florida's a big place. So shout out to Florida. So let's talk about Donald Trump's travel ban. All right, this is the subject here today. We know we got this whole beef between Elon and Donald Trump. I don't know if y'all saw this stuff playing out on X yesterday, where Elon was going hard at Trump. Elon was going at Trump more than Trump was going at him. I'll touch on this since we talked about it yesterday already, but I know this is a big news thing. I could have talked about it again here today, but I didn't want to do too much on just that one subject. What happened is, and this is what a lot of people think is the real issue, because anytime you get people arguing with each other and it seems like they're kind of going at each other, either they're playing everybody, and some people threw out the idea that maybe Trump and Elon did this on purpose and it's like a coordinated thing to make it seem like they're beefing, but they're really not, and it's going to get everybody all excited, but they're actually playing the whole world against themselves. I don't think that's the case. I think Elon is truly pissed off about something, and he used the big beautiful bill as the pretext for what he's pissed off about. But I think he's more pissed off about what Donald Trump said, because Trump was asked about this yesterday, and Trump has said a lot less about Elon. Elon said about Trump, because Elon has the platform, he has the megaphone of using X and attacking the big beautiful bill and attacking Trump, because Trump is the one who's kind of co-signed this concept of this big beautiful bill and why it's a good thing. Is that Elon lost his electric vehicle mandates, that the government was going to put forward this EV mandate, which basically means they were going to create a rule that said all cars had to be electric by a certain time point or a certain time period or something like that. If that were to go into effect federally, then that would be a boon for someone like Elon Musk, because he has this company, Tesla, and we know Tesla has basically, they're in the lead when it comes to electric vehicles. We see a lot of companies making electric vehicles to follow in the lead of what Tesla started. And I don't happen to be a fan of electric vehicles. I see Mercedes has some electric vehicles, and I don't like how any of them look. They all look bad. I haven't seen an electric vehicle by any company other than Tesla that looks better than the regular gas-powered vehicle of that same company. So Tesla only makes EVs, right? All Tesla cars are electric, right? But all the other companies who tried to make electric vehicles, or not tried, but they did make electric vehicles to go with their gas-powered vehicles, the electric ones never look equal to or better than the gas-powered ones. I don't understand this. They all look ugly. The Mercedes electric vehicles are ugly. And what other company makes? I think I seen a Ford electric vehicle. That one didn't look good. I don't see any electric vehicles that look good. Now, they probably do great with the gas mileage, was the reason why, a big reason why a lot of people do it. And I guess people call themselves saving the planet. The point is that Trump removed the electric vehicle mandates from whatever they were doing in the administration, was probably pissed Elon off, because Elon is like, well, look at all these things I did to help you win the election. I put all this money out. I own X, and I made it a more fair platform for you to get your message out there. I stood next to you in Doge and got a bunch of my friends to come help save some money, and now you're going to spit in my face by taking away the EV mandates, and or you're going to go and do this. The big beautiful bill, I think, is the pretext. What I think. So anytime somebody's mad about something or they seem to be doing something, there's always a good reason and a real reason. I think the good reason for Elon is what we were talking about yesterday, which is he believes that the bill is going to cause the country to not have as much money, and therefore is going to stymie any type of entrepreneurial growth, et cetera, et cetera. Being that he's an entrepreneur, he cares about that. Do I believe that is a reason for Elon? Do I think that matters to him? The answer is yes, it does. I do believe that that matters. Let's get up to 8,000 likes, please. Someone said the Mach Mustang is fire. I don't know what the Mach Mustang is. Are you talking about an electric vehicle? So I think that is a real reason for Elon, that he does, once he cares about the country and he cares about entrepreneurship, he cares about his opportunities. But at the same time, the country continues to lose money and it stymies any type of growth. That's not going to stop Elon from still being Elon, and all his kids still going to be taken care of. He'll still have a whole bunch of money. Now, he may not be able to complete all of his plans, which it seems like he's serious about, but I understand why he could have an issue with that. But at the same time, on the flip side, I think the real reason he's pissed off is either A, those electric vehicle mandates that he didn't get after all the things he did to help Trump win. He feels like that's kind of a slap in the face. Or B, is something else that we don't know about yet. I think that's the real thing he's mad about. I don't think it's the big, beautiful bill. That sounds good, but I don't think that's the real reason he's mad, if he's actually mad. So some people think it's staged and that they're just playing each other. I don't think so. When Elon dropped that, I guess some people called it a bomb, when he said Trump is in the Epstein files, everybody was all going crazy, like, oh my God, Elon said that about Trump. But people have been saying that about Trump ever since we knew there were Epstein files. So I was wondering, why is everybody getting all excited? His opponents have been saying that about him the whole time. People have been saying Trump is in the Epstein files. There's a bunch of photos of Trump standing next to the guy. So people figured, all right, he probably made some trips to the island, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure Trump's been asked about it. Okay, just because he shook his hand and took a picture with him does not mean he did anything that you didn't prove. People have been saying that since like last year. So I remember responding to people saying that, well, Trump has pictures with Epstein. I'm like, so that don't mean you committed a crime. Shaking hands with somebody who committed a crime does not mean that you also committed a crime. You got to prove it. So I don't know what people are all excited about Elon saying it as if this is some news item. It's not news. Everybody's been saying that for months. in years, actually, since whenever the Epstein files, since it was known that there were Epstein files, and since it was known that Epstein was Epstein, and those documentaries came out. And then anybody who he ever took a picture with, people are like, well, what about him? What about her? What about these people? So everybody's been implicated in this. And what Elon said, he went on to say on X yesterday, is the reason they haven't released the Epstein files is because Donald Trump is in the files. And everyone was getting all excited as if, again, this is some news item. People have been saying this for a year, that Trump is probably in the Epstein files. So just because you're in a file does not mean you did a crime. So, okay, let's say Trump is in the Epstein files. Now what? What does that mean? Does that mean he did something? Do you have proof? You got to prove all these things. So I don't know why people are getting all excited about that. And I'm saying all that to say I don't think this is staged, because if you say something like that, it's like you're trying to really impugn on somebody's reputation in a strong way and on their character. And Elon had not said anything really cross toward Trump up until this point. So I don't think this is staged, because you wouldn't go there. Now, if you just want to keep it on the bill is bad and it's a bad bill for America, that's a professional disagreement. All right, I don't like the bill. You like the bill. We can argue about the bill. All right, that's not a thing. But if you get personal with somebody and start saying, well, hey, I'm the reason that you won, which is a little bit personal, it's on the borderline. But then saying he's in Epstein files, that's a whole different thing that I think is a little bit, he's kind of crossing the line into a personal attack. That's why I don't believe that this is staged. So that's my statement on the Elon Trump thing. As far as anybody wondering if it's real or not, I think it's real. And a lot of people have supported Elon. And of course, he's on X. So Naval Ravikant said, Elon's stance is principled. Trump's stance is practical. Tech needs Republicans for the present. Republicans need tech for the future. Drop the tax cuts, cut some pork, get the bill through. So basically what some people are saying, some people who I think are pretty smart, are saying that they just need to change the bill a little bit. Instead of it being one big, beautiful bill, it needs to be a slimmer bill. In other words, cut the pork out of the bill, and then we can make it work. And there's a video Elon retweeted. He does a lot of retweeting here. This woman named Natalie F. Danletion shows a video from 1992, Donald Trump partying with Jeff Epstein. And again, people have been throwing these things out there for a long time. Well, Trump was partying with Epstein, but Epstein was a businessman. It's not like he only did the girls thing, whatever you know him for, the girls thing. Epstein was also a business guy. That's how he had the money. He had a damn island. All right, so people understand. The guy had an island. So it's not like he was just doing the girls thing. He was actually a businessman. So just because Donald Trump partied with him, Donald Trump partied with everybody. All right, he partied with Diddy. All right, that doesn't necessarily mean he was doing any of the stuff that person was doing. But again, a lot of people like to buy into this stuff. So I'll look more into stuff Elon posted yesterday, maybe later on today. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say about this subject when it comes to Epstein. There was something else about Epstein I was going to say. Oh, yeah, the Epstein files. So people are saying, by the way, like the live you're watching on TikTok. Please like this live. We're at 9.5K. Can we get the 10K, please? Let's get the 10K likes on the live. And by the way, you can get a free copy of my book, The Third Day, by going to that link right there, thirddaybook.com, or the link in my profile here on TikTok. And people have been talking about the Epstein files. Why didn't they drop the Epstein files? Because y'all remember when the Trump administration first started, they invited a bunch of news people and influencers to the White House and said, we're going to give you the Epstein files. Then they gave them the files, and people were mad at Pam Bondi and whoever else was involved, saying there's not really anything in these files. They're just giving you a whole bunch of stuff, but it's stuff that we already knew. Is nothing new inside of it. And I've been saying this from the very beginning. The reason that they haven't released the Epstein files, and the reason that these files will probably never be released, is because people on all political sides are implicated in those files. That's why they're not being released. It's not Donald Trump. Those files have existed since before Trump was president. They existed when Biden was president. Why didn't they put them out? They existed during the first Trump administration. Why didn't they put them out? The reason they haven't put the files out is because a whole bunch of people are implicated. And if you put those files out, then a whole bunch of people are going to look bad, not just on the political right, not just on the political left. Sex is not partisan. What Jeff Epstein was doing was basically a sexual crime, right? It's pretty much, is that fair to say? He was committing a sexual crime. Okay. Sex crimes are not, they don't belong. They're not proprietary to the political left or to the political right. So the reason those files ain't coming out is because it's going to take a whole bunch of people down, and it's going to be equal amount of carnage on both sides of the aisle. So that's why you're not going to see those files. All that being said, the topic here today is not even that. topic here today, we're going to talk about Trump's new travel ban, which he put out 2 days ago, June 4th, 2 days ago. Donald Trump, now, what he signed was an executive order targeting 19 countries. The order fully bans the United States for citizens of 12 countries and imposes partial restrictions on 7 others. It's being positioned as a national security measure in response to a recent attack that happened in Boulder, Colorado. Did y'all hear about this attack in Boulder? There were some people of the J persuasion, religion. They were out there, what were they doing? Gathering and praying and doing their stuff. And someone went and attacked them, and he was yelling out death to those people. And this was, of course, went down as I guess they call it a hate crime now. I don't believe in the concept of a hate crime. Crime is just crime, but they say it's worse if you do it for reasons of hate, but hate is legal. So how are you going to make a crime out of hate? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they got this guy in Boulder, Colorado, after he carried out, and this guy was allegedly from Egypt. That guy who did it, he was an Egyptian national who had overstayed his visa in the United States. So this is the reason why we need Tom Homan getting these people up out of here. So according to the Trump campaign or the Trump admin, the ban is going to protect Americans from all these bad things that he has already, said many times when it comes to illegal people being or coming into the United States. So this echoes the travel ban he had in 2017, which targeted a lot of majority Muslim nations and was ultimately upheld by the Supreme Court. So critics of the new ban say it's racist, of course, reactionary, it's a political stunt, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all know all this. So this ban is set to take effect on June 9th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern, which will be this upcoming Monday. So the countries with full travel bans, I mean, if you're from one of these countries, you cannot come into the country starting on Monday. The AFG country, I got to be careful what country names I say on here because I don't want to get a restriction from the For You page on TikTok. So the AFG country, Myanmar, Chad, Congo, I'm just thinking before I say these names if I should say them or not, Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, the I country, IRAN, them, LIBYA, them, Somalia, Sudan, and YEMEN. I'm careful what country names I say here because TikTok is very strict on some of these things you can't say. You don't realize it until you say it. So there are some countries with partial restrictions. So those are country I've never even heard of. CUBA, I don't know if I can say that. Laos. Leon, TOGO, never heard of them. Another one I never heard of, and VENEZUELA. They got a partial ban, so I'm not even saying none of these names. I don't want to play around with TikTok. TikTok, do not put a restriction on me. Keep me on the For You page. So let's get into what exactly does this mean? Why does it matter? Why are Trump's political enemies going to try to weaponize this and use it against him as usual? And what makes this all a news story? Number one, Trump is showing strength and doubling down on this concept of America first. Again, I've said this almost every single time that the conversation has been around Trump and anything he does regarding immigration, people traveling here, when it comes to people being here, whether they have documentation or not, or anything he says about or that in which he alludes to, we don't want people who are not citizens of this country in this country. And he is feeding his base of people, of American citizens, born and bred American citizens who've been here for generations, who like the idea of we're going to secure our borders, we're going to build the wall, we're going to keep outsiders from coming in, and we're going to focus only on the people here in the United States. The America First mandate. This has been Donald Trump's mandate, and this has been his thing ever since he came into politics in 2015. This is not new. It's not a surprise to anybody. He's been standing on this from the very beginning. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it is a different story. But if he's not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes, he didn't trick anybody with this America First thing. He's been about this the whole time. If you're going to give, even if you don't like Trump, if you are staunchly against Trump, MAGA, etc., the one thing you can give him credit for is that he has been consistent and he's been open and honest about what he wanted to do. He said America First from the very beginning. He said, make America great again. That's literally what MAGA means. And he's following through on it. So who could be mad about this? Did he lie to you? He told you what he's going to do. Now he's doing it. So his base loves this. And even the people who are not his base can't be mad at it because, again, ain't like you didn't know. You had a chance to vote for somebody else. Once you did, you voted, voting in. Once Biden got voted in, and the other 2 times, Trump got voted in. So, again, what are you mad about? So this is a blunt force policy that some say. Some say this is a blunt force policy that targets countries by nationality instead of individual behavior. I would say that's correct. That is what it's doing. The problem is with that framing is that you kind of have to do that. You have to generalize at some point. So they say instead of targeting individual behavior, well, we don't have the resources to target every single individual's behavior because there's a lot of people in this country. There's a lot of land that we need to cover. And what Tom Homan has been saying, in case any of you didn't know it, Tom Homan's the border czar. He's the guy who's basically going to execute all of this. We got to get the people who are here illegally out of the country, or whatever you want to call that. So getting these people out of the country, Tom Homan has told the Trump administration, we need more resources in order to follow through on our plan. That's the current situation. They're following through and they're doing it. And y'all seen the videos of the ICE agents being in towns and people allegedly gathering to go against them and all that stuff. All these things. Tom Homan is saying that we need more resources in order to get this done. We don't have enough resources to get all the people out who we know we could, should, and can get out. We don't have enough resources to do it. So what Trump is doing, let me back up. That's targeting people individually. That's what Tom Homan is trying to do. Individually, let's go find each person who's supposed to be out of here and let's get them out of here. At the same time, you have to generalize at some points in life. Human beings, we have to generalize. We can't talk about every single individual possible exception, every single thing that we say, because the conversation will never end. It's kind of like if I say something like college graduates tend to make more money than people who only graduate from high school. Now, are there people who only graduate from high school who make a lot more than college graduates? The answer is, of course. Is the generalization still true? The answer is, of course. So again, exceptions prove the rule. They do not disprove the rule. So, and I'm not saying that that means everybody from a certain country is a bad person. What I'm saying is this is what the government has to do in order to stop what they see as a big problem. For now, this is a stopgap issue. It's not like they're going to ban these countries forever, the ones that I listed, but they have to do it for now because they see this is the best way to keep the problems from coming into this country because we're seeing problems from this country. So now one person messes it up for everybody. All right. Has any of you ever seen that? We've all seen that happen before. You could be in school. One person messes up. Now the whole team has to suffer, or the whole class has to suffer, or the whole group has to suffer because one person messed up. That's sometimes how it works. And this is what the government has decided to do. And while some people are attacking this because they're saying, well, you're just attacking a country and blocking a country without talking about individuals who may be doing the wrong thing. My question to that statement is, why does this matter? If you're in America and you're a citizen and you have proper documentation, the country just decides we're going to block certain countries from coming in here just because that's what we want to do for right now. Why is it such a big deal? So this is one of those relative privation questions. Why is this a big deal? Why do you care? The same way that some people try to say this to me when I'm talking about certain subjects. Why does it matter? I mean, you're already here. So why do you care that the government is going to ban certain countries from coming in here, at least temporarily? Because other countries do the same thing. They don't often do it to America, but they do it to other countries. Other countries do this. They will say, if you're from one of these countries, you can't come in here. And that's just the rule. You just can't come. And it's not temporary. It's just you cannot come in here. If you're a citizen of this country, you cannot enter our country. And they just set that rule, and that's just what it is. And if people don't like it, so you can go to that country. All right, so you live here and you don't like that we don't let people from that country come in here. You can get a ticket and you can go travel over there. If there's somebody you want to see, all right, they don't have to come here. Somebody you want to see, you go see them over there where they're at. So I don't see why people are up in arms about this at all. But countries on this list this is the argument that the Trump administration makes, that the countries on this list have weak or unreliable vetting systems. So this is a legitimate security risk. That is true. Trump talks about vetting all the time. So vetting simply means that if somebody's going to try to travel internationally, that the country that they're leaving from has vetted that person in such a way that the country is basically, by allowing them to get on the plane to go from America. Let's say I want to fly to, I'm trying to think of a country whose name I can get away with saying. Let's say I want to fly from America to Brazil, from the United States to Brazil. Just the fact that the United States governmental system, because any of you ever flew international, you have to, well, first of all, you got to buy the ticket, but then you have to show your passport, and that goes through a governmental system to where you have to have clearance. Because if you have certain legal implications or limitations on your name, you cannot travel outside the United States. So you have certain things on your criminal record, for example, you can't travel. You can't travel anywhere outside the country. You're stuck here for the rest of your life. And what the United States government is saying by allowing me to get on a plane to Brazil is they're giving a tacit approval to the country of Brazil that this guy, Dre, is okay. At least as far as what he's done here in America, he's good. Because if I had some bad things on my criminal resume, the United States will not allow me to get on the plane. So that's what Brazil is trusting. The fact that they let me get on the plane means I'm somehow, some way in good shape legally. It doesn't mean I can't do something crazy once I get there, but the bet is I'm probably not, because I have a clean slate. And what America is saying here when they say that a lot of these countries don't do proper vetting is that they don't do that. So that means if you live in Brazil, for example, and you've done a whole bunch of bad things, Brazil will just let you get on the plane. I'm just using Brazil as an example here. I'm not saying this is how they do. But if Brazil lets you get on the plane, even though you have a long criminal history in the country that you're coming from, and then they let you get on the plane to come over here, and then you come over here and do something bad, we're looking at you and looking at your resume and saying, well, this person was already doing a bunch of bad stuff over there before they came here, and that country let them come here anyway. Okay, so any country that is operating that way, that just lets people come here. By the way, like the live on TikTok, let's get to 24,000, please. Any country that is just letting people come here, even though they have a checkered history at home, we're going to start banning them from even sending anybody into our country, because we're seeing a pattern of any country that doesn't do proper vetting. They end up having people come here who do the wrong thing. That shouldn't be happening. So you know what? We're going to stop this from even happening. So we're going to block anybody from that country coming there. Now, again, some people may be mad about that because they're like, well, look, I didn't do anything bad and I'm from that country. Now I can't come because of this blanket idea that you're putting on it. I would say don't be mad at America. Be mad at your own country. You might be mad at your home country for not having proper vetting processes, because a proper vetting process will let the high quality people show that they're high quality, and the low quality people, it will be obvious that they're low quality. You should be mad that they don't have that line of delineation. That's what I would say. One thing that I tell people all the time is that in any organization, when you raise the bar, you lose the losers. When you lower the bar, you lose the winners. What does this have to do with the vetting process? That if a country like, let's just say America, the United States of America says, we're going to have a bar that if you have any, here's the bar right here. Here's the line. If you have anything on your criminal resume that puts you below this line, you can't travel to any other country. That's our way of keeping positive diplomatic relations with every other country in the world. We're not sending anybody with anything that goes below this line criminally. You can't go anywhere else in the world. You are stuck here because you did crime here. You might do that same crime over there, so you can't go. And everybody who's above that line, you can go wherever you want. You can travel. Your passport is good. The people who are high quality and don't have anything that goes below that line, Americans, should be happy that that line exists. Why? Because it identifies you as a high quality person and identifies the low quality people as low quality, as opposed to if you're in a country where there is no line and y'all just mixing everybody in together. Wait a minute. If I'm a high level performer, I want it to be known that I'm a high level performer. This is one of the reasons why when I first got into just my professional career, period, I was always interested in the concept of sales. Why do I like sales better than just a regular job? And the reason why is because when you're in sales, you get paid based on your performance. So if you outperform your coworker, you make more money. If you're on any form of, commission. You're on any form of commission, you make more money because you outperform your coworker. Whereas if you work at a salary-based job where it's just salary, you and your coworker may make the same amount of money, even though you're a 10 times better performer than they are, but your performance does not get rewarded with pay, even though you're outperforming your coworker. I didn't like that concept. I said, I want to be somewhere where my performance equals my returns, which is why sales is one of the first things I ever got into. Always, I'm still in sales to this very day, even though I may not call myself a salesperson. When you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales, whether you want to be or not. Then I got into sports. And the sports world is all about the scoreboard, which is what? How you perform. If you outperform the opponent, you win the game. You keep outperforming everybody, you win a trophy. That's the way it's supposed to work. And you get paid based off that. So performance-based business is something I've been talking about for a long time, and I always talk about it. And for those of you who are new here, welcome. I talk about this often. We're at 28,000 likes on TikTok. Can we get to 30,000, please? Can we get 30,000 likes on TikTok? Tap the screen. So what this is saying is, what I'm saying here to sum up this point is that any country that's not doing a good job of vetting, i.e. drawing this line between the people who abide by the law and the people who don't, then America has every right to say, you can't send anybody here because you are not separating the good from the bad. So why should we have to do your job of separating the good from the bad? If you ain't doing it, nobody can come in. So the other country, these countries on the ban list, they probably are dealing with this right now. And they probably have citizens in their country getting mad at the government saying, hey, the United States said nobody can come into the United States from this country. And hey, I'm a good citizen. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Mr. President, Mr. Governor, Mr. Prime Minister, why is this happening? Because they're going to call their own politicians to the carpet for this. And what their own politicians need to do, here's what I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. I'm going to tell you what they need to do. What they're going to do is blame Donald Trump, because blaming Donald Trump is a easy exercise. It's an easy thing to do. It's the low-hanging fruit politically. Just blame Donald Trump. So they're going to say, so what's one of these countries on the ban list? So one of these countries that's completely banned. Let's just say the AFG country, which I'm definitely not going to say their name. Y'all know AFG, that country. So people in AFG may say, hey, I want to go to the United States, but we can't. And they're going to talk to whoever the king is in AFG. And the king in AFG is going to say, well, that's because of Donald Trump. He's a bad person. He's a terrible person. He just doesn't like, he's xenophobic, or whatever language they use. What that person should do, that's what they're going to do. Here's what they should do. They should say, you know what, Mr. or Mrs. Citizen, I'm sorry. And you're right that you should be able to travel. And it is messed up that you can't go to the United States, but it's not Donald Trump's fault. You know what? It's actually our fault, because we don't have a proper system in which we separate those who do crime from those who don't. So what we're going to do is do the work of putting that system in place so that we can show the United States, hey, here are our good people. Here are our bad people. Now that we've vetted them, please remove the ban so that we can send some of our good citizens over to your great country, Mr. President Trump. See, that's what they should do. Now, is that going to happen? No, because that requires effort. And the other option is just blame Donald Trump. Which one do you think most people would choose? Of course, people are going to choose the option that requires the least amount of effort, work, and self-accountability. And this applies, y'all think this only applies to some bum standing on the street corner. This applies to everybody. This applies to politicians as well. So anything that removes the accountability or effort from their plate, they're going to take it. This is just human nature, is what we're talking about here. So most of these countries, some are saying, this is the pushback to what I just explained. Most of these countries are majority black, majority brown, and some people will say, well, it looks like it's racist and discriminatory because most of the countries being banned are brown people or Muslim people or black people. So it looks like just more of the same from Donald Trump, more xenophobia, more racism. That sounds good. And there's some plausible material, let's say, for lack of a better term, you can put behind that claim. But I just debunked it. By what I just told you for the last 5 minutes, is that these are countries that are not vetting people. So whether it's not that Donald Trump is saying, all right, let's find all the countries with black and brown people and ban them. I don't think that's what he's doing. Because again, why does he care? Donald Trump is protected. Why does he care? The reason he cares is because he's looking at his base, the people who voted for him, his supporters, and they're saying these are the bad things that are happening. He can see what's happening. And a lot of, let's be honest, the people who are traveling into the United States and doing crime, who are already here illegally, who have overstayed visas, or came in here and didn't even have proper documentation in the first place, when we find out about these people who have committed crimes and done bad things, what have most of them been? I mean, we have an honest conversation here or not? Have most of those people been brown people? They're not black people. Let's be clear. And I want to make sure all of you understand, as a black man living in the United States of America, there's a difference between black and brown. We are not one big group. So any of you white folks in here, or black folks, or brown folks who have started to buy into this new language where they say black and brown people as if we're one big conglomerate. No, we are not. Black people are over here, brown people over there, white people over there. Every group, we got our own groups. Black and brown is not one big group. I'm saying that to say this. When you see people who are here in America without proper documentation doing things they ain't supposed to be doing, and then eventually getting arrested, deported, et cetera, what are they? They ain't black. They're not white. They're brown. They're brown people. So if we're going to call a group out, then let's call them out. It's the brown people. It ain't the black people. Again, we ain't one big group. All right, black and brown are two different colors. All right, y'all seen a box of crayons before, right? Okay. All right, black and brown are not the same color. So let's not put us in a group with them, because we ain't them. And we are citizens, and a lot of black Americans, we've been here for generations. We are not immigrants, and some of us are, some of us ain't. All right, we didn't come here from anywhere else. We've been here. So do not group us with them. So if Donald Trump decides, or any administration decides, you know what, we're going to ban some countries that are sending, when we see the crime happening here with people without proper documentation, they all seem to be from this country and that country and the third country, and they just happen to be brown. So that's my response. So what, they happen to be brown? We didn't just say ban all the brown people. That's not what they're doing. They're saying ban the countries that happen to be sending people that are doing things wrong. They just happen to be brown. And if you want to try to draw the line, or try to draw this connecting line between, all the countries you ban just happen to be brown people, so what? It's kind of like if you're saying, well, all the people who seem to be guilty of assault of a sexual nature, well, let's ban anyone who has ever been, any group that seems to be sending a lot of people who are guilty of assault of a sexual nature. And then you start doing that and you realize that almost all of those people are males. Does that mean you're anti-man? No, it just means, hey, this is what we said, and they just all happen to be men. Hey, what does that mean? Does that mean I hate men? No. And I'm just using that as an example. But if that's what it looks like, that's what it looks like. What are we supposed to do? And that doesn't mean if you're a man that you're guilty. But it does mean that all the people who were guilty happen to be men. Again, it doesn't mean if you're brown, you're going to do something bad when you come into the United States, or that you're illegal, or that you don't have proper documentation, or that you overstayed your visa, or that you're a member of a gang, or any of these things. But all the people who are doing those bad things, they all happen to be brown. So if you want to be mad about something, don't be mad about the generalization that we are drawing from actual things that we can all see, including yourself. What you need to be mad about is why other people who look like you are doing things that cause others to look at you and say, well, the last 10 people I saw who looked like that did something wrong, so now they're looking at you funny. What you need to be mad at is not the person looking at you funny, but the people who caused them to look at you funny. That's what you need to be mad about. It's like if I'm a black person and I walk into some business that's owned by white people and there's all white people in there and they're all looking at me strange, and I'm wondering why they're looking at me strange, and somebody pulls me aside and says, hey, sir, we see that you're a good person, you're not doing anything wrong, but the last 10 black people who walked into this business, they were acting crazy. They were acting as if they didn't have any sense. They didn't conduct themselves with proper manners. They were not professional. They didn't say please and thank you, and we had to kick them out because they just had a bad attitude. So I want you to understand why everybody's looking at you funny, because the last 10 people who looked like you who came in here were acting like they didn't have any sense. Know what I would say to that? I would say, well, first of all, thank you for telling me. Secondly, I wouldn't be mad at the white people for having this what do they call it? This prejudice, I guess, for lack of a better term, this unconscious bias, if you want to call it that. I guess it's a conscious bias. I'm be mad at them for having this conscious bias, because if they're telling the truth, let's assume that they're telling the truth. The last 10 black people they came across were very unruly and just out of order. And now I'm black. And they are expecting, based on their experience, the last 10 were unruly and out of order. So this mofo might be unruly and out of order, but turns out that I'm not. I understand why they're looking at me funny, because the last 10 black people set them up to believe that. So if I'm going to be mad at anybody, I'm not going to be mad at all. But I think if I'm going to be mad at anybody, I'm wondering, all right, why are black people conducting themselves like they don't have any sense, which is making it harder for somebody like me to conduct myself out there in the streets. That's what I'm going to be mad at. This is what we call internal accountability. And when I say internal, I'm not talking about me, myself. I'm talking about within a group. The internal accountability. So this is what those countries should be doing. Again, they're governmental leaders. If they're upset about the travel ban imposed on them by Donald Trump, this is what they should do, is say, all right, let's create a system so that we can point out the bums and we can separate them from the good people so that we don't get banned like Donald Trump just banned us in the future. But I doubt many of them are doing that, because that would require internal accountability. And you all may think that just because someone's an elected official that they have this higher level of internal accountability, and the response to that is no, they don't. So continuing, this sends a global message. I just explained to you this, so I really don't need to go too much into this. It sends a global message that you need to get your systems in order or you will lose access to America. Now, why can the United States of America pull this off? We can pull it off because everybody wants to come here. All right, no matter how much people talk shit about America and its systems and it's racist and it's bad to black and brown people, all these things that you hear people saying over and over again, very rarely do you see anybody looking to leave. And there's a lot more people trying to get in than there are trying to get out. Still true to this day. Hopefully will remain true while all of us, as long as all of us are alive. We're at 42,000 likes on TikTok, folks. Can we get to 45,000, please? Can you like the live. If you're on TikTok, tap the screen and like the live. Just tap the screen as much as you possibly can until your finger hurts. All right, so we can like the live so we can get up to 45,000 likes here on TikTok, those of you watching on TikTok. So get your systems in order. And I just explained to you what the system is. All right, so I don't have to explain this anymore. The United States can do this simply because they have something that people want, which is access to our country. You want access to our country, you got to follow our rules. Now, when President Biden and Vice President Harris were in charge, they decided that nobody had to follow the rules. And this is a bad idea. Let me tell you why it was a bad idea for President Biden and Vice President Harris. The reason it was a bad idea is because when you have something that other people want, you can set the terms and you can set the price and tell them you have to clear this bar if you want what I have, because they can't get it anywhere else. If you have something that other people want and there's no other way for them to get it, you can set the price however you want to set the price. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris decided that we're going to offer the price of pretty much free, even though people are willing to pay in order to get it. Why would you give away something for free when people are willing to pay for it? That's a bad business. And Biden and Harris, that was a very bad business decision that we're just going to let people come in and not force them to meet our standards just because. Now, it wasn't just because. I'll explain this one again, just so for those of you who never heard me explain it. The reason why the Biden-Harris administration was just letting people in the way they were letting them in. This is just a theory here. I'm not going to say this is not reporting, but it's a theory. Is that the Democratic Party is playing a long-term game. And it's not just about that 4 years, because what was going to happen over that 4 years wasn't really going to be effective. What they want to do is allow all these people to come into the country, send them to whatever places in America they go, spread out all over America. And then Kamala Harris said this one I am reporting. She said this over and over again during her campaign, her failed 100-day campaign, a path to citizenship. What exactly does that mean? Path to citizenship meant Kamala Harris was looking to fast track how quickly someone could come into this country with temporary legal status and turn that temporary status into full-time, full-blown citizenship in America. Now, why does Kamala Harris care about that, and why would she want to do that? Well, Kamala Harris ain't Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is a political operative who, just like Barack Obama, just like Hillary Clinton, and just like Joe Biden, has spent her entire life in politics. She has never done anything of consequence that did not involve politics. All right, this is not a criticism. This is just the truth. And because of this, she's been in the Democrat Party her entire political life. And for her to get to the point of being able to run for president, even when she got to vice president, and then backdooring her way into the presidential nomination, the Democrat nomination, Kamala Harris has to do what the Democrat Party tells her to do. Because she ain't Donald Trump. Now, what does that mean? Donald Trump didn't have to do what the Republicans told him to do because he's not a career politician. The Republican Party did not make Donald Trump. He came in and steamrolled them out the way and did what he wanted to do, and now they had to fall in line. But if you're a career politician, the only way you even get that high is the people who really call the shots in the party. They decide whether you're going to get to move forward or if you're not. They decide you ain't moving forward, you ain't moving forward. You want to see an example of this? Look up Mr. Sanders. Bernie Sanders. Now, they didn't want him to move forward. He didn't move forward. But if you follow the rules, you can move forward. Kamala Harris followed the rules of the Democratic Party. Now, what does this have to do with anything? The long-term plan of the Democratic Party is to get all of these people temporary status into the country, get them full-blown citizenship status. This is why it was part of Kamala's campaign, a path to citizenship. She was saying that to rile up the Democratic base who likes this black and brown mixed thing, which is not a real thing, but allowing these brown people in, not because a bunch of people in America just want to see more people come into the country, but because Donald Trump went against it. So anything that goes against Donald Trump, that works for the Democratic Party, at least for now. 2028, they got a new problem. And we'll talk about that a different day. But Trump won't be around anymore. And all they wanted to do is just get themselves more blue voters for the future. So it wasn't about 2024. Kamala Harris saying that was not going to do anything to help Kamala Harris, except hopefully win the election. It failed. It wasn't going to help them, maybe not even in 2028. It was for future elections. It was like for the 2032, 2036, 2040 elections. That's what that was for. They want to have as many citizens who got brought in here that way, knowing that they got their citizenship through the Democratic Party. Well, when they go vote, who are they going to vote for? That's what they were trying to do. Now, people like J.D. Vance have been really good at hammering this point and saying it over and over again. And if he becomes a nominee in 2028, I think he's going to hammer it even more because whoever the Democrats send, he's going to use it against them, even if they never say it. Let it be Kamala Harris. That'll be fun. But anyway, Now all of you understand. So some say the pushback to this is that you're damaging diplomatic relationships and it could backfire in international cooperation. My response to that is LOL, FOH. No, it's not. That's my response to that. If I'm the Trump administration, my response to that is LOL. What diplomatic relationships? With who? These countries that I named off, we don't have any diplomatic relationships with the AFG country. We don't want any relationship with them. Don't send any of your people here. And that's if we truly believe that Mr. Laden from 9/11 is from the AFG country, we should have a permanent all-time ban on that country. I would be completely fine with that. How many of you have a problem with that? Or how many of you say yes or no to that? If Mr. Laden, Osama, was from the AFG country, and we just said, America just said, you know what? Nobody from that country can ever visit the United States ever again. If you're a citizen of that country, would you be okay with that? Yes or no? What do y'all think? Give me a yes or a no. If we just permanently ban anybody from that country coming here after what happened on 9/11, assuming that that's the country that he originated from, and he was part of the he was some nobody. He has some power over there. Some people say yes, and some people say no. I would say yes. I would say okay, let's just ban everybody from that country. I'm saying all that to say, and again, I don't think everybody in the country hates the United States. I mean, it's really hard to group an entire country's worth of people, but at the same time, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I wouldn't even have to justify it. I say that happened. He was from your country. He had power within your country. That was the worst terror attack that's ever happened on our soil ever. And he was in charge of it. And we know for a fact he was in charge of it. And we know for a fact that he had power and status in your country and y'all didn't do anything to stop him. Okay, y'all can't come here ever again. That's a good enough reason as far as I'm concerned. That's a good enough reason. We can put that down. And someone said, do you not see the problem with this logic? Yeah, there's a problem with this logic. The problem is there's a bunch of people in that country who had nothing to do with it. Now they can't come to the United States. That's the problem. I would say I'll accept that problem. That's what I'm saying. I'll accept that problem. There are no perfect solutions, only trade-offs. I'll accept the trade-off that there are some people in the AFG country who can never come to America based on what I just said, and I'm all right with that. And this is just a hypothetical. But if America did that, I would say, okay, maybe they do it for 25 years. When was 9/11? But 2001. So it might be one more year and then they lift the ban. If you want to do something like that, I wouldn't be strongly opposed to that. So anyway, they say it damages diplomatic relationships and could backfire in international cooperations. I say cooperation with who? Whose cooperation do we need? Of those countries that are listed, whose cooperation do we need more than they need our cooperation? And there isn't any. I remember Shaquille O'Neal during these years when it was Kobe and Shaq playing together in the LA Lakers, like one of the later years when we knew it was going to end at some point and Kobe and Shaq wouldn't stay together. Somebody asked Shaq, I think it was that year that they signed Gary Payton and Karl Malone, those two older guys, and they went to the finals and they lost in the finals. And somebody asked Shaquille O'Neal before the season, they said, Shaq, with all these personalities on the team, all these Hall of Fame players, all these guys who need the ball, how do you, Shaq, feel like you're going to get along with all the other people on the team? And Shaq's response was, I don't need to get along. He said, they need to get along with me because this is my team. So if anybody's going to get along, everybody else needs to get along with me. I don't need to get along with them. And he was kind of being tongue in cheek, but he was also telling the truth. I'm saying that to say this. This is the way the United States is looking at these countries. We don't need to get along with them. They need to get along with us. We don't need cooperation from them. They need our cooperation. If they get attacked, they're going to be calling us for help. If we get attacked, we're not calling them. So why do we need to be cooperating with them? This is not an equal deal. Right? We're not equal. We're not on the same level. There's only 3 countries in the world that can do something to everybody else, and nobody else can do a damn thing. Us, the C country, and our country. That's it. The rest of these countries are pawns in the game. They're all pawns on the chessboard. The other 3, they're the ones with the power, and that's just what it is. And people try to act like that's not true. It's true. Next. They say this is the Trump side. And like the live, please. Even if you hate everything I'm saying, like the live. All right, so let's get up to 60,000 likes. Let's get up to 60,000 likes, y'all. We're at 55K. Let's get up to 60,000. Trump administration says this prevents a threat proactively. It's better to stop danger before it happens. I've already explained that. I don't need to go into that. But the critics say statistically, most threats in the U.S. are domestic terrorists, not foreign terrorists. And depending on the way you want to frame it, fine. Let's just assume that that's true. That most of the threats in the United States are domestic. Let's say that they are citizens, people who live here and actually have citizenship, born and raised here. They're the biggest threats. Let's just assume that that's true. My response is, what the hell does it have to do with my travel ban? See, this is the relative privation. The relative privation approach, you can call it a fallacy. The relative privation approach is saying, well, there's a bigger problem over here, so why are you worried about this little problem over there? Doesn't mean that you don't handle the little problem just because it's a little problem. Just because something's a little problem doesn't mean you don't need to address it. So, for example, just yesterday, my car was parked under a tree and some birds, or a bird, must have had a lot to eat because there's a whole bunch of bird shit right on the driver's side window of my vehicle. And I couldn't get it off. It was already like dried up in South Florida. So it was dried up and kind of baked in there. So I had to go through one of those, to go to the gas station. They got the little car wash. So I had to go to the gas station car wash this morning and spend $8. I got to go through the car wash to get that shit off my window. The point I'm bringing that up to say this is that a really big deal? The fact that there's bird shit on my car as opposed to all the other things I have going on in my life and in my business? The answer is no, it's actually very small. If I had to put everything in my life that I need to deal with right now in a list of priorities, that would be number like 93, the bird shit on my car window. But it doesn't mean that you just leave the bird shit on there just because it's there. So this whole concept of the relative privation is people try to make it seem like you're doing something wrong by addressing something that's not the biggest problem, but addressing things that are not big problems now prevent them from becoming big problems in the future. And again, who only addresses one thing all day? We can address small things and big things. Now we can do both. So moving on. Trump admin says people overstaying their visas. That's a real thing because it puts pressure on fixing that loophole because people overstay their visas. We got to catch all the people overstaying their visas and get them out of here, which is what America is supposed to do. Every country is supposed to do that. The problem is once somebody gets into the country, how do you find them? Even if your paperwork says, hey, this person's visa is overstayed, we don't have it documented that they left, which means they're here and they don't have proper documentation, undocumented, or let's just say illegally here. All right, okay, now let's go get them. Okay, where the hell are they at? All right, if I'm Tom Homan, where are they at? How are we going to find them? All right, this country is pretty big. It's 50 states. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of places to go. There's a lot of places to run, a lot of places to hide. How do we find these people? This is what Tom Homan is saying. This is the problem right now is we're looking for these people. And now half the country is trying to actively work against us finding them. Why would you want to do this if you're an American citizen? We'll probably do a whole conversation on just that alone. Actually, we already know we're doing it. We're going to do one on these ICE agents walking around with the masks. And you see how Hakeem Jeffries in there in the government, I don't know where he was speaking, but sounding stupid, saying that these people should not be walking around with masks as if, again, their only job is finding people who are here illegally. What's your problem with that? On what political side do you need to be on to have a problem with finding people who are in our country without proper documentation and they're looking for them and getting them out? Whether they're people who are doing and wearing a mask or not. What does that have to do with the actual problem that they're solving? Again, relative privation. I can say that with pretty much every conversation. A visa overstay is an issue. So they're trying to fix that loophole by not allowing more people to come on visas. So we have fewer of them that we have to go find and fewer of them that Tom Homan has to go get. And Tom Homan has been very urgent about this from the very day he came into the Trump administration. He said, we only have 4 years. 4 years is not a long time. And we got to do a lot of work to catch all of these people that we got to catch. And we can't waste time on this. We got to move. And I like people who think like that. So shout out to Tom Homan. So this policy, what they say, opponents say, it treats all travelers as guilty by default, even students and innocent families. I push back against this. This is a good framing to if you want to make Donald Trump look bad, but that's not what it does. What this policy does is it says if you have not been properly vetted, then we're not letting you in until you're properly vetted. It's not that you can come in until you give us a reason that you can't come in. Is that you can't come in until you give us a reason that you can. So all they're doing is just flipping the script. And I understand why some people can push back against that, because there was a time when we had this whole concept of America as this melting pot. And actually, we still have that concept. There's people from all over the world here in America. People come from all over for the land of opportunity and the upward mobility in the United States of America. And we're a country of immigrants. You hear people saying this all the time. We're a country of immigrants. No, the hell we are not. We are a country of citizens, not immigrants. Any immigrant who comes into this country, one of their main focuses is how do I become a citizen so that I don't have to leave? Because if you're here and you're not a citizen, eventually you got to go. No matter how long you're here, eventually you got to leave. So the goal And when an immigrant comes here, is to become a citizen, is to get citizenship. So the country is about citizens, not about immigrants. And that framing needs to be used. So again, Vice President Vance, if he runs for president in 2028, I think this is something that he's going to say. I would expect this is something that comes out of his mouth. We are a country of citizens, not a country of immigrants. So all they're doing, all the government is doing, again, instead of saying everybody can come, and until or unless you give us a reason that you can't be here, you can stay. What we're flipping it to, and I'm painting with a broad brush here. We're flipping it to, you cannot come until or unless you prove to us that you are not a threat to do something wrong here. You got to show us that you're above this bar. So it used to be the bar was down here. You can just come until you mess up. Bar is now up here. You can't come until you prove to us you're not going to mess up. And there's nothing wrong with that. All we're doing is raising the standards. That's all it is. We're raising the standard. And what did I tell you about the standard? When you raise standards, you eliminate all situation in life when standards have been raised or lowered. When you raise the standards, all the low-level people got to leave because they can't clear the bar, so they can't come. So the higher the level, the fewer people make it. It's the reason in sports. 1 million kids play high school basketball. About 3% of them play college basketball. 1% of them play pro basketball. Why? Because at each level, the standard gets higher, so there's fewer people who can meet it. So that's why you get the best of the best all the way up here, because the standard is so high. But when you lower the standard and you make it easier for anybody to get in, what do you get? You get a whole bunch of bums get to come in. So right here is the standard. Now you start lowering the standard. Now you got more mediocre people. Now you got lower people. Now you got average people. Now you got a whole bunch of bums to the point you have no standard. Now everybody's in there, and it doesn't matter to be in there because anything that everybody can access is not valuable. Any table that everybody can sit at is not a valuable table. VIP is VIP because not everybody can be in VIP. If everybody can be in VIP, it wouldn't matter. That's the point. Please keep liking and live, everybody. We're at 65,000 likes. Please keep liking and live. So all this is doing is raising the bar so that we are bringing in higher quality people. Donald Trump, 2016, what did he say? These countries are sending their immigrants, but they're not sending their best. He was right. He was right. Again, whether you like Donald Trump or not, you can't say he was wrong. He was right. They're not sending their best. What these countries are doing is they're looking at the problems that they have, the people who are problems, and they're saying, all right, we don't want this person in our country because they're a problem. Let's send them to the United States because the United States seems to have this open door policy that anybody can just come in. And Joe Biden is the president and Kamala Harris is co-signing. Let's send them there now while we can, because if they get voted out of office, then we won't be able to send these bums out of the country. We're going to be stuck with them. So how about we get rid of all these problems and send them over to the United States, because the United States seems to have an open door policy. And we did have an open door policy for 4 years, well, 3.5, until the election season came, campaign season came, and Trump started using that against the Biden-Harris administration. And then all of a sudden they started enforcing the rules again. Magic formula. You get called out for your nonsense, all of a sudden you stop doing the nonsense, especially on a public forum. And all Donald Trump did was close the door. The door was wide open. He just closed the door. And people are acting like he's doing something crazy. We have a door. All he did was close it. It's like if you have a house and you got the door wide open all day. So you got birds coming in, you got squirrels coming in, you got ants coming in your house, just random people walking in, squatting in your living room. All you're doing is closing the door. All you did was close the door. You doing something wrong by closing the door to your own house? No. All right, we're just closing the door. You can't come in. This is my house. No, you can't come in. That's all Donald Trump did, is close the door. And then all he did was get Tom Homan and Kristi Noem, and all he did was tell them, go find all the people that came in our house when the door was wide open and get them the hell out of our house. Get these squatters out of here. Get those squirrels out of here. Get those birds out of here. Clean the shit up and get all the people who are not supposed to be in this house out of the house. That's all that's happening right now when it comes to immigration and border security. That's it. And he's saying, let's put some rules in place so that the door doesn't get swung wide open again like it did under these bums that were here before me. He's undoing a whole lot of trash that got left in the office when he walked in. That's it. So the 2017 travel ban, again, is just following legal precedent, and that's what they're doing now. So that same ban, they say, some people push back and say, well, there were years of court battles over that travel ban. There was a whole lot of people who pushed back against that travel ban that Trump had in 2017. And this get tied up in court and in litigation and hearings and judges blocking things. And then they got to go to this judge and it goes up to the Supreme Court. I want all of you to understand that just because some political side, usually the political left, the Democrats, use a court system or suing people or having hearings and having judges block things and it ends up in a court battle. Just because they are sending things to court does not mean that somebody's doing something wrong. And if you know anything about the legal system, the whole purpose of the legal system, not the purpose, let me not say that. One of the main uses of the legal system is to try to stop someone from doing something that you otherwise couldn't stop them from doing. So your last resort is let's go to court. That's the last resort, is let's go call the lawyers and let's get the lawyers and the judges to block this. And what happens is the judicial system moves very slowly. So things get tied up in litigation. And you had a hearing today, and the next hearing is not for another 17 days. And now you got to file all these motions and all these paperworks and all this back and forth. And all the while this thing is tied up in court, the thing that you were trying to get done, you can't do it because it's tied up in court. So now there's like a block on you executing the thing that you actually want to execute on. Now the thing never happens. And before you know it, your administration's over because your time's up. And now they can go back to doing what they want to do. And all of a sudden, all the court cases go away magically. So all it is a political ploy. So anytime these things, you hear about these things getting caught up in court, and you hear some politicians saying, well, we took it to court and we got a judge to stop Trump from doing this. And we got a judge to stop Elon from doing that. That's not because Trump or Elon is doing anything wrong. It's because posting on social media and giving speeches and going on CNN is not going to stop Trump from doing what he wants to do. But one thing you can do to slow him down or hinder his process is you can file some legal paperwork against him to slow him down from doing what he wants to do. And while he's being slowed down, you can keep letting the thing that was already happening keep happening because he can't do it because the judge has blocked it. So now it becomes this legal case rather than someone actually doing what they want to do and arguing what they want to argue. Because again, if he wasn't supposed to be doing it, then why did he get voted for? Now, he told you what he was going to do. He's just doing what he's doing what the American citizens said they wanted him to do. Donald Trump is not doing anything right now aside from that. I guess the big beautiful bill, some people push back against that. But aside from that, when it comes to immigration and enforcing the borders and getting people out of here through ICE, Donald Trump is not doing anything that he didn't tell you he was going to do. Nothing, not one thing. Everything he's doing, he told you he was going to do, and he got voted for twice. The American people spoke and said, we want that. He said, this is what we're going to do. Kamala said the exact opposite, and they said we want Trump, period. So what's the conflict here? And why are people in Congress, representatives and senators, going to the courts to stop him, and then they're getting on social media and announcing that we went to court to stop him from doing A, B, C, D? Like, mofo, he told you during his campaign he was going to do it. And the people said yes. Same way that people said yes to you, congressperson, senator. They said yes to him because he told you what he was going to do. Now you, as a voted in politician, is going against this other voted in politician as if what the other person is doing is not what the people said. This is what we want. Now, I get it. Some people didn't vote for Trump, but we know the way this process works. Majority rules through the Electoral College and through the swing states. He won by a lot. This wasn't even close. So supporters see this as Trump protecting the homeland. It's a clear election year win for his base. And again, I already explained that. We ain't got to talk about that anymore. Opponents say it's political theater to rile up emotions and distract from real issues. Again, this is a relative privation fallacy. No, this is not political theater. This is real. ICE going and rounding people up who aren't supposed to be here and kicking them out of the country. That is not theater. That's really happening. That's real life. Tom Homan has said it over and over. Listen to some of his interviews. Look up Tom Homan when he's appeared on TV. He tells you exactly what he's going to do. One thing that you can appreciate, again, whether you are on their side or not. I'm not on any political side. I have no dog in a political race. They're all liars as far as I'm concerned, but it doesn't mean they can't tell the truth every now and then. One thing you can appreciate about the people on the political right, as of today, I'm just talking about right now. I'm not talking 60 years ago. As of today, is that they tell you what they're going to do and they're honest about it. I don't think the political left is very honest. And that's one of the reasons why they're in the position that they're in right now. We could talk a lot about that. I said it is making me think of several things. Was the political left honest about Joe Biden's mental state? I don't think so. Was the political left honest about Joe Biden's physical health? I don't think so. Was the political left honest about Kamala Harris and this is the best candidate we can come up with to go against Donald Trump from getting a second term? I don't think so. Was the political left honest about here's why we want so many people coming into this country via this legal status that we were granting people? Were they honest about why they wanted to do that? I don't think so. The political left plays these games, these word games, these language games with things, and it went to court, and these emotional ploys that they use to paper over their lack of logic when they're saying things. And again, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing because it works. Most human beings are much more driven by emotion than they are by logic. So if you want to get your point across and you're talking to a mass of people, you're better off being emotional than you are being logical, just as a general rule. However, on a political right, they had to do the same thing. Donald Trump uses emotional ploys too. He uses it in a different way, but he's doing the same thing. The thing is, the thing that he gets you emotionally riled up about is based in logic and is based in things that he actually believes. See, he's not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. He's telling you what he's going to do. He just emotionalizes it in a way that motivates masses of people to support it, but he's not lying to you. I think a lot of times the people on the political left are lying by omission, and they're lying by, again, just playing word games. They make something sound one way when it's actually the other way, and that's lying, if you can point it out. Donald Trump's not doing that. And he's telling you what he's doing, then he does it. Now, again, he can emotionalize it, but he's not lying to you. Democratic side, and I'm saying this as a general point, they will emotionalize a point, and at the same time, they're lying about that point. That's the part that people are starting to see through. And the reason why it's no longer working the way it has worked in the past is because we have more access to information now than we ever have. More access to information, meaning you can get on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, and some person who you never met can take what you just heard your favorite congressperson say, and they can break it down and explain to you why it's either true or not true, why this person is telling you the truth or if they're bullshitting you. You can get on some AI app and say, hey, is this actually true or is it not? And you can get the details within 30 seconds as to whether this person's telling the truth or not. 15 years ago, you didn't have access to that. 15 years ago, you couldn't get that. So the average person has more access to information. I don't even think the average person is smarter. I think the average person is actually stupider now than we were 15 years ago. But we have access to more information now than we did before. It simply means one thing. It's harder to lie to people in 2025 than it was in 2010. It's just harder to tell a lie. You can still tell lies. You can tell the lie, but let me correct myself. It's the same level of ease to tell lies as always been. It's harder for the lie to pass without getting called out for its bullshit than it was 15 years ago. That's what's actually true. You can still lie, but you get called out for your lies now. Back in the day, you can get away with lying because there was nobody fact checking you within 30 seconds using fucking Chat GPT or YouTube or TikTok. Nowadays, you tell a lie, somebody's going to, if 100 people see your lie, 50 of those 100 are going to take what you just said and they're going to run it through some software or to a person who can say that's true or that's not true, and you're going to get called out within 2 minutes on your bullshit. See, you couldn't do that. Didn't happen in 2010. It happens now. That's the problem that the Democratic Party has. The Democratic Party honestly should hire me as a consultant so I can help them get their shit together. One thing they should start with is they lost the vote of a whole lot of men, heterosexual men, during 2024. One reason is they had a man who was obviously falling apart, Joe Biden, number one. Second reason is they sent a woman who is not a very good speaker or leader that no heterosexual man wants to follow behind, Kamala Harris. That was number two. Number three is, y'all see this woman they have? Her name's Olivia, I believe. Y'all see this woman who works for the Democratic Party? Her name's Olivia. And I believe she's white. Maybe she's Latin, but her skin is pale. She's a fair-skinned woman. And she's like 400 pounds. Y'all seen this chick? Her name's Olivia something. We're at 78,000 likes. Can we get to 80,000 likes? So this chick, Olivia, I saw her say this on social media last week. She said on her social media that she is responsible for the Democratic Party bringing men back to the party. That's what she said out of her own mouth. And there was an article out that actually co-signed that this is the woman that the Democratic Party has chosen to bring men back to the party. I said, are you fucking crazy? Democratic Party, what the hell are you doing? First of all, let's get to 80,000 likes, folks. We're at, yes, I don't know what 181 means, traditional all day, but let's get to 80,000 likes. That, first of all, if you're trying to get men to support anything and you're going to send a woman to do it, first of all, you're wrong by sending a woman. They messed up by sending a woman in the first place. You're trying to get men to follow. You don't send a woman to get men to follow. And if you do send a woman to get men to follow, there's a certain type of woman you choose. You choose a really attractive woman that can get men to start thinking with their lower body head rather than their upper body head, if you get what I'm saying. And that chick, Olivia, she ain't that. All right, I just told you she's 400 pounds. All right, so number one, they picked the wrong woman if you're going to pick a woman. And number two, they shouldn't pick the woman in the first place. Number three, this woman is, she has masculine energy. I've heard her talk. She's very masculine in her energy. She's combative and she's masculine. Now, you don't send a combative masculine woman to lead men. What the hell are you doing? That makes no sense whatsoever. And she said this like 2 weeks ago. This is less than a week, maybe a week ago. The Democratic Party chose me to help bring men back to the party. Okay, that ain't gonna work. That's a failing strategy. She got to get fired. They can have her do something else. Don't have her do that. Only people she's only men that she is going to relate to are gay men and feminine energy heterosexual men, but not masculine men. That's not going to work. All the masculine men have gone to the political right for this very reason, that the Democrats have gone so feminine, so feminist in what they're doing that they are pushing men away. The women are still voting Democrat, or at least on the black side. But when it came to men, period, they're all going to the political right because the political left is so feminine. It's not even policy. It has nothing to do with the policy or Donald Trump or traveling or any of that stuff. It's just the Democratic Party is just way too feminine right now. They got to get their shit together. And I don't know, maybe Stephen A. Smith is the answer to this question. I don't think so. But it might be better than what they got going on right now. So let's get into the comments. I think I will pass on the bathroom break here today. Let's just get straight to it. Maybe I should. I don't know. Should I take a bathroom break or not? Let me think about it. While I decide, let me see what I can play off of. I'm going to play something off of my show. Yeah, I think I'll play this one. Actually, I should take a bathroom break. So let me take this bathroom break. Can everybody like the live? Can we get up to 90,000 likes while I take this bathroom break? It's only going to take me 90 seconds, and then we'll get into all the questions and comments from today. Give me 90 seconds. Let me run to the restroom real quick, and then we get to the questions and the comments. Hit 90,000 likes before we get to the comments.
Work on your fucking game. I like the frameworks that he's put together. Work on your game. And I would highly recommend it to anybody that's trying to work on their game. Work on your fucking game. I think it's a good approach. It's a different approach, too. Hey, you, work on your game. Gave me something really good. Work on your game. DreOplay.com. And his philosophy makes a lot of sense. Not only work on your game, perfect your craft. Work on your game.
He knows how to communicate in such a fabulous way.
I can't say it enough.
Work on your game. You're now tuned into the show. You learn the discipline to show up day after day to do work, the confidence to put yourself out there, boldly and offensively, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you're expecting to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you're going to use those personal initiative. That is, go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself. It's going to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to survive in an economic downturn. Now, every time a new president takes office, all the people who don't like the new president, they tend to predict doomsday for everybody who voted for the president who won. And they completely discount the reality that any bad thing that happens to the people who voted for the new president, that same bad thing also happens to you. So if you didn't vote for the current president, whoever it is, when you happen to be listening to this, and you're like, well, these idiots who voted for this. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to the comments here. I will start off on, I don't know if I saw anything on Instagram, and I'll check. So Ohio J said, I dislike the electric car. Then they put a speaker in one of them to stimulate the engine of a muscle car. You're asking the wrong person. I have no idea what that is, if that happened at all. Tay Gunner, I talked about Elon and Trump yesterday. And I talked about it at the top of this live as well. So you must have missed it. So let's see. All right, so I guess it started working on LinkedIn. I don't know. LinkedIn, hope y'all got that. So let's see what we got going on in the comments here on TikTok. Please like the live. Let's get to 100K. We're at 90,000 here. And I'm reading from the top, so I'm reading oldest to newest. So if you're leaving comments while I'm reading the comments, understand I'm not ignoring you. I'm just reading the ones that I can see. So Eddie Jackson said, yes, 100K. Let's get to 100K, folks. We're at 91. Warrior Time to Play said, Trump is planning on entrapping Americans in his $1 billion golden dome and chipping. I don't even know what that means. Trishna said, it might soon be a country of immigrants. Well, it's going to be more people coming from other places, and they're reproducing faster than all the rest of us. So, yes, it will be more of a melting pot is what it's going to be. Bruce says, a misdemeanor to be in the country illegally. All right, great. So Elliot said, nobody is voting for Vance. All right, well, we'll see how many nobodies there are in 2028 if he's the nominee. Still too early. Murphy said, I enjoyed today, but got to go to work. Shout out to people going to work. Warrior said, Trump is illegal. What about him? His life, his presence? Bruce said, the government needs to help people take care of themselves. No, it doesn't. The government needs to get out of the way to help people by getting out of the way. That's what the government needs to do. Gil Gibbs said, brother, you are so lost and asleep. So I think we got to come up with a title for this one. We need a title for this one, moderators. Those of you who are here every day. I think we got to call this the passive aggressive disagreement of the day. And we got to come up with a better name for that, but we'll call it that for now. Passive aggressive disagreement of the day. Gil Gibbs, you are first. The passive aggressive disagreement of the day. So we got the straw man of the day. We haven't noticed it yet, but then we got the passive aggressive disagreement of the day. That is when someone is disagreeing with what I'm saying and they'll say something like, you're wrong, but then they don't actually say what I'm wrong about, nor do they actually offer a counterpoint to anything I say. They just say something that alludes to why I'm wrong, but they don't offer anything else. So we call this the passive aggressive disagreement of the day. So that's what we're going to call it. Carla said the hater award. I don't like the word hater. That word is so overused that people throw it around too much. But we gotta come up with something else for it. Carla, you're going on the right track, but we gotta come up with something better. Hex said it's unfair to let people in illegally. There are people waiting and doing it legally priorities. Yes, well, I don't think they see it as letting them in illegally. It's giving them legal status, quote unquote, is what they were saying during the Biden-Harris administration. Michelle, thank you for the hearts. My cat's a weirdo said if everybody's VIP, then nobody is. Exactly. Gil said the whole idea of VIP is the problem with America. No, it isn't. Being here in America, being allowed to come here if you're not a citizen is VIP status, and you have to earn that. You can't just walk into VIP. You got to be somebody to get into VIP. That's why it's VIP. Danielle teaches empathy, says something isn't right. I'm not convinced he even believes what he is saying. Are you talking about me? Are you talking about Donald Trump or what? Simply Farms said, I wouldn't say open door because it really isn't, but it is fairly easier country to migrate to. Are you talking about America? AY said, closing the door is what I voted for. Is what we all voted for. Whether you voted for him or not, even if you didn't vote. We all voted for it because we know that the election outcome, we're going to get the policies of the person who won. So even if you voted for the person who lost, you still voted for the person who won because you participated, and that's what we got. So, yeah, everybody voted for closing the door. Bruce said, who is protecting those people's rights? What people? Simply Farm said, you don't have rights when you're breaking the law of the land you're trying to migrate to. Well, you get basic human rights, but other than that, no, you're not owed anything. Generally speaking, I'm saying you're not owed anything. I'm not speaking legally. I'm just saying, speaking generally, we don't owe you anything. All the thing we owe you is to gather you up and get you the hell out of here because you shouldn't have been here in the first place. That's the way I see it. Again, I'm not speaking legally. Heck said illegals have rights in their countries, not ours. Generally speaking, I agree with that. Uncle Louis said, you explained it the best I've ever heard. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Will Griffin said, right-wing false narratives being pushed by one of their boys. Here we go. Straw man of the day. I think, does this qualify? Let me read it again. Right-wing false narratives being pushed by one of their boys. Yes, this qualifies. Will Griffin, congratulations. I think you're new around here. I don't think I've seen your name before, but you have just won Straw Man of the Day award. So the straw man of the day, folks, straw man is one of the most common logical fallacies often found when people are disagreeing with you. What it is when people take something that you said or that they think you said, they represent it as something that you did not say, and then they either ridicule it or they attack it or they argue against it or they present it to you as a question as if they want you to verify it even though you didn't say it. So that's called the straw man. So what Will Griffin did here is, first of all, he started off by calling it a right-wing anything. I'm not right-wing. I'm on no wing. I'm not on any political side. Secondly, he called it a false narrative. I don't think, what did I say there was a false narrative? He didn't say what it was. Then he said being pushed by one of their boys, as if alluding to the fact that maybe I am, directed by the political right to put these messages out. So we got like 3 fallacies in one statement. Will Griffin, very well done. Straw man of the day. Congratulations. We're still looking for a sponsor for the straw man of the day. Carla said, our Constitution is plain and simple. We the people of the United States, not illegals. That's right. Uncle Louis said, very smart man right here. You get it. Thank you, Uncle Louis. We're at 99.7 thousand likes. We need 300 more likes to get to 100K for the day, folks. Like the live, please. Like the live, like the live. Simply Farm said the two most stupid words in the English language are Democrat and Republican. All right, fair enough. we got to work with them though. Bruce, you asked about a country that I probably shouldn't mention on here. The P country, the I country, the U country, the R country, the C country. I am loath to say their names on this app. I'm talking about TikTok. Carlos said, I'm tired of people being ridiculous. Our Constitution has jurisdiction over this country. Well, some people who disagree with Trump use that exact same frame. So it depends on what about it you're referring to. And Grammatico said, Americans stand strong together, not illegals. You sound like a great lawyer and a great American. Well, thank you, Ann. I'm not a lawyer, but every day somebody assumes or asks if I'm a lawyer. So I'm not mad at you for that. A great American, I'll take that. Thank you. Michelle said, even a big, beautiful bill is what he said he would do. Yeah, exactly. So he's getting pushback on that. But the bill is going to pass. It's just a matter of what it looks like when it passes. That's what I've heard from people who study politics a lot more than I do. They are saying that the bill is going to pass. It's going to be some edits made, some adjustments, but generally that bill is going to pass. 103,000 likes. Thank you, everybody on TikTok. That does not mean stop. Let's keep going. Let's keep winning. Let's get to 105,000. Leon Blair, thanks for the follow. Shout out to all the new people who start following me while I'm talking here today. I can't point out all of you, but I appreciate you. Mickey07227 said, like your truth. Thank you. Traditional said, I like Holman. I like Holman too. Lil Man said, it's illegal without due process. Well, it depends on how you define due process. So that's the phrase everybody's arguing over, due process. What exactly is due process? And it depends on the person, depends what they got caught for, depends how they got caught, depends what documentation they have, depends on what the authorities already know or don't know. Due process is not the same for every single person. So people throw that word out there or that phrase out there, due process. It doesn't mean the same thing for every single individual. So that's where it kind of stalls out the conversation when people say that. And a lot of people don't even understand it. It's not always the same. Warrior said, why are you protesting it? I don't do protests, so I don't know what you're referring to. China says, yes, straight up, no sugarcoating. Yes. Warrior said, you must be safe when the shit hit the fan. I think that's supposed to be shit. You wrote suit. You might got a couple next to Trump bed. I don't know what that means. I need you to rephrase that in proper English. Angela, Angel Eye, thanks for follow. VT Sanity said, doublespeak is what the Democrats do. Well, they all do doublespeak. I think Democrats do a little bit more of it right now, but they all do it. Not Billable says, pushback for Trump is obvious. He won the popular vote by 1%. Half the country didn't want this. Well, you're minimizing. The vote is always pretty close. Usually the winner of the vote is pretty close. And the popular vote is not how we decide the election anyway. So not Billable, what you're doing here is we call this the red herring. You're bringing up things that could be factually true, but it distorts from what matters. What matters is not the popular vote. So Hillary won the popular vote in 2016. You hear people saying that all the time. Who the hell cares she won the popular vote? Did she win the election? No. So the electoral vote is what matters. And in the electoral vote, we know that there are a lot of states that vote the same way all the time. And then you got the swing states, the states in where it could go either way. And the states that it could go either way, I believe there were 7 of them. Donald Trump won all 7. All right, that's the fact that you should be pointing out here, not Billable. Now, if you were not experiencing the cognitive dissonance of being a Democrat and hearing what I'm saying here, then you probably could have pointed that out. But I understand you, human nature. And you're saying half the country didn't want this. Now, I disagree because most of the country doesn't even vote. But let's just go along with the spirit of what you're trying to say here is that even if you did not vote for the person who won, you still voted for the person who won because you voted and the person who won. That's how it works in the democratic process. We all agree we're going to vote for who we like. And if the person we voted for doesn't win, we still get the person who did win. So you voted for it whether you chose him or not. We're at 109,000. Can we get the 110, please? Mike Mays said, DJT doesn't lie. That's a wild take. So here's Straw Man of the Day number 2 by Mike Mays. There is nowhere that I said Donald Trump doesn't lie. I said all politicians lie. And when you get into politics, you have no choice but to lie. You can't be successful in politics without lying. and sometimes it's just lying by omission. Donald Trump doesn't lie on certain subjects. When it comes to immigration and enforcing the borders, he didn't tell any lies. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. So I was speaking on a specific subject, not him as a general point. And Mike Mays, what you did here was rephrase what I said to Donald Trump doesn't lie, period, and then saying it's a wild take. So didn't I tell y'all what happens on the straw man? Is what people will do is take what you said, rephrase it into something else, and then they'll either pose it to you as a question, or they'll ridicule it, or they will talk down on it, they'll attack it. And again, you're attacking a straw man. It's not an actual person. You made up a man out of straw, and then you beat it up, and then you act like you want to fight. You didn't. So Mike Mays, congratulations on straw man of the day, number 2. Warrior, time to play, said Trump is not the king messiah. Why are you saying that? Lula said it's true. He always tells his crimes up front. Are you talking about Trump? Okay, I think you are trying to be sarcastic. Snarly Sue said he is weaponizing MAGA against protesters. How so? Tell me how that's happening. Mike Mays said DJT writes his own narrative to the world on social media. Everybody writes their own narrative to the world on social media. Mike Mays, you're doing it right now. That's what social media is for. That's all social media is. You write your own narrative to the world. So, Snarly said he wants violence at protests. Who? Warrior said he talked too much. We must listen. He doesn't read to listen and discuss. Are you talking about me? Almost all the time when I'm doing these lives, if I have a whole lot of comments, I get somebody who says something like this. So he's not reading the comments. He's not looking to discuss. Well, I'm discussing right now. Now I just read your comments. So there you go. Carla said, the Constitution lays out how we, the people, are structuring our government to operate in our country. Yes, that's true. Let's get to 115,000 likes, please, everybody. Carla said, the U.S. does not have jurisdiction over the entire world. Also true. Oh, 181 people. Oh, all right. Traditional. That's what you were talking about. All right. Shout out to the people who are in here. I was on the For You page here today on TikTok. Put FYP if I was on the For You page. Bruce said, this thinking is from the 50s. What did I say? Bruce said, remember what else was happening in the 50s? Well, what did I say? I see a bunch of people responding to something that I say, but what did I say? Oh, is that when I was talking about the girl, Olivia? I think that might be when I was talking about Olivia. I was talking about the 400-pound girl that they have. She said she lost 65 pounds, and she's still 400 pounds. I said, this is the woman that y'all sending to get men? Why would a man follow that? That makes no sense. Anyway, but that's their plan. That's what the Democrats decided they wanted to do. So shout out to her for getting the job. Olivia Lou said, so, I know what that means. He says, so you don't think. So Livy Lou's comment starts with, so you don't think. So we all know what that means. Straw man is on the way. When someone starts a comment with so, or so you think, or so you don't think, or basically what they're about to do is take something you said, rephrase it into something that you didn't even say, and then they're going to either pose it as a statement, or they're going to ridicule it, or they're going to attack it, or they're going to pose it as a question. So let's see what Livy Lou does. Livy Lou says, so you don't think committing genocide has an issue on losing an election. All right, this is a straw man. I never even mentioned the word genocide. And I didn't say anything about a genocide, nor did I say anything about a genocide as it relates to an election. So Livy Lou, congratulations. Straw man of the day, number 3. We're still looking for a sponsor for the straw man of the day. So I don't have a prize for you, but you did get recognition. Traditional said, you are correct, Dre. Thank you. AI or Al says, tell your daughter your talking points. Don't be so feminine, AKA fight for women's rights. That's a straw man as well. But we only got 3 straw man in the day awards, but I'll point out your straw man. Don't be so feminine, AKA fight for women's rights. What the hell does that even mean? If there's going to be a fight, the fight is going to be won by men, not women, first of all. So it's not women who fight for women's rights. It's men who fight for women's rights, because the women are not going to win a fight against men. If it was all women against all men, women won't win. So it's men who actually did the fighting. Secondly, being feminine is not something you put in quotation marks. It's a real word. It's a real thing. Is that if you want men to follow, then you need to send masculine energy. But the masculine energy is to come from a man, not a woman. So that's where the Democrat Party is going wrong. They did it. They went wrong with Kamala. They went wrong with this girl, Olivia, who was allegedly supposed to bring men back to the Democratic Party. That's a laughable idea that they sent her, of all people. They better off sending Kamala and sending her. Anyway, you said tell my daughter that. I will tell my daughter that, and my daughter will completely understand it. She understands that the protection of a woman is based on the actions of a man, not the actions of a woman. Gary said the biggest problem with the Democrat Party are the liberals and progressives. Yeah, so basically the Democrat Party, period. That's pretty much what they're looking like right now. It wasn't Kamala Harris was a progressive, right? And she was the nominee. So that's who they chose to represent them. So, I mean, what do we say? We're 117,000 likes, folks. Can we get to 120 on TikTok, please? Eddie Jackson, thanks for the support here. I'm telling people to like the live. Snarly Sue said Trump wants violence so he can declare martial law. People have been saying that since 2016. So when is that going to happen, Snarly Sue? When is this going to occur? People have been predicting this for a long time. Danielle said, did you grow up in the South? No, I did not. I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Why do you ask? Florida girl said, I'll vote for Vance. The way it looks right now, if Vance runs, he's looking strong for 2028. The way it looks now. But things can change. We all know that. So a bunch of y'all found me on the For You page. Shout out to TikTok. Shout out to TikTok for getting me on the For You page. And I thought I was almost caught up to the comments. Not quite. Let me see. Oh, so I see some really good straw man comments here as I'm scrolling through, but I'm trying to get back to where I was. All right, let's see. But I see some juicy straw men in here coming up in a moment. Let's see. Where was I? No. Read that already. All right. So Angela says government needs to get out of our way. Yes, they do. Miss Allegra says, are you against women in leadership positions? No. Why do you ask that question? What I do believe about women being in leadership positions is that was made possible by the fact that men made things so safe and protected that a woman could be in a leadership position. Back in the days when a woman being in a leadership position meant she was physically vulnerable for possibly losing her life, that was when you were really taking a risk being in a leadership position. These days, you're not taking any risks. Had Kamala won presidency, it's not like she got to walk around with a hard hat on because somebody might take her head off. And it's not like she would have to go out and fight with a sword on the front lines. We made the world so safe that it is now easier for anybody to be in a leadership position. They don't have to actually exude any true leadership skills. They can just be in the position because everything is so safe these days that anyone can lead, quote unquote, lead, even if they're not doing any real leading. That includes unqualified men, and it also includes women, whether qualified or unqualified. Back in the days when there was real risk that came with leadership because you were on the front line and your head would get chopped off first, you only saw men in leadership positions because there was a real life or death risk with being a leader. Nowadays, that doesn't exist. So now anybody can lead, generally speaking. Livy Lou, you already tried that strong man. You posted another version of the same strong man. So you got to come with something better. My Cat's a Weirdo said unsubstantiated disagreement award. It's a little bit too long. Look for something a little bit more catchy. Victoria Lynn says the Headlighter Award. What does that even mean? Headlighter. Rick, thank you. Mike Luder said the Carter 6 dropped today. Oh, man. Yeah, I may give it a little bit of a listen. Bruce said you voted for the person lost. You voted against the person. You voted for the person who won. You actually said this. Yes, that's exactly what I said. Because when you participate in the democratic voting process, you are submitting to the reality that whatever the majority chooses, you are going to go along with it. That's how democratic voting processes work. So if I vote for, let's say I'm part of a singing group and there's 5 of us, and I vote that we're going to do song number 1, and the rest of the group, the other 4 members say, no, we're going to do song number 2, I still have to go out and perform song number 2. Why? Because the group voted for song number 2. So I voted for song number 2, even though I didn't vote for song number 2. You get what I'm saying? The only way I could not vote for it or say, well, I don't agree, or I can go against it is by quitting the group. If I'm still a member of the group, I had to go along with what the group decided. If you're an American citizen, you voted for Kamala, and you're still an American citizen, you still live here, then you're going along with the fact that Kamala didn't win and Trump is the president. Now, you can disagree with Trump and you can criticize him. You can attack him every day on the internet if you want to, but you still have to live with Trump being president, which means you're supporting it by even living in a country where that person is the winner, even if you did not want them to be the winner. That's how a democratic process works. User said, it doesn't make sense. You voted for this even if you voted for the other person. Yes, because you got it. I mean, you got it. This is what complete ownership looks like, ladies and gentlemen, that even if you didn't want something to be the case, but it is the case, and you are dealing with that case, you chose that case. That's how it is. Y'all didn't notice this is news to y'all? So this is what complete ownership, or extreme ownership, if you want to call it that, or extreme accountability looks like. If I'm in, I just told you all, I told you guys at the beginning of my live here today, that yesterday where I parked my car, a bird shit right on the driver's side window. So one thing if the shit was on the roof because you don't even see it, but the shit was on the driver's side window. And if I'm driving with the windows up, I can see these shit stains, bird shit stains right there on my car window. I'm responsible for that. I take ownership of that. Why? Because it's my car, number one. Number two, I parked the car under a place where a bird might shit on it. And number three, I don't want that bird shit on my car. So guess what I had to do? Go wash it off. Now, did I choose for the bird to shit on my car? No. But by the actions that I took or did not take, I put myself in a position where the bird shit could get on my car. That's what extreme ownership is. So even if you did not cause the situation, even if you did not want the situation, if it is the situation and it's still your situation, you are responsible for it. That's what extreme ownership looks like. And that's what's taught to you as a man when you're in masculine spaces and around masculine men. So some of you males who have been raised by women and you don't know what masculinity looks like, this is a foreign concept to you. I will take credit for teaching this to you. This is the first time you ever heard it. So if you voted for Kamala and you didn't want Trump to win, but Trump won, you are still responsible for Trump winning. Why? Because you participated in the voting process. You're responsible for it. Even if you didn't want it to happen, you're responsible. And if you want to fix the situation, what you should say is, damn, Trump won. He beat Kamala. Maybe Kamala wasn't that good of a candidate. Maybe we should have pushed for a better candidate. Maybe I should have wrote to my Democratic decision makers and told them, get Biden out of here before the 2024 election cycle comes up. Maybe I should have told them, have an open primary so that maybe the best candidate wins and we're not just stuck with Kamala because she might not win. So again, this is maybe retroactively looking at it, Monday morning quarterback, as we said, but you take ownership over the situation. If you're an American citizen and you didn't vote for this outcome, but you're still living here, then you voted for the outcome. Why? By even being here, you voted for the outcome. If you didn't vote at all, you voted for Trump. If you voted for Trump, you voted for Trump. If you voted for Kamala, you voted for Trump. Everybody voted for Trump. Does everybody understand this? This is a mindset. All right. So some of you are kind of taking what I'm saying more literally. I'm explaining it to you metaphorically. And hopefully I broke it down well enough that you get it. But some of you are deeply in your feminine energy. You don't want to get it. And that's fine. You're welcome. You are allowed to do that. Cindy Boo said, completely agree with you. Thank you. We're at 128,000. Can we get to 130, please? Convict Science said, your contention that immigrants don't have rights is constitutionally incorrect. I didn't say that they don't have rights. I said that the rights that you do have are that we're going to pack you up and get you out of here. So I didn't say they don't have rights. So that's a straw man. Yeah, Carla called it out. She called it. Bruce said, I love how when people learn just a tiny bit of informal logic, then toss it around all the time. All right, well, Bruce, if you can do better than me, if you know more than me, then you should be doing your own live. And let's see what the general public has to say about your abilities. I'm open to that. We can compare what you do to what I do. So Angela said, me either. I'm a conservative constitutionalist. I vote all over the ballot. No, what you have a right to as an American citizen. Kath said, I got a cast on my hand and still tapping. So shout out to Kath with the cast. What happened to your hand? Susie said, you have great content. Thank you. Rhonda said, what's the travel ban? So 12 countries have a full travel ban now and 7 countries have a partial travel ban as of Monday morning, this upcoming Monday morning, but it got announced like 2 days ago. Rick said, we voted for closing the door on the big, beautiful bill. Yes, we did. The whole country voted for it. 330 million people. Susie said, I have read the book, Work on Your Game. Great book. Shout out to you, Susie, for reading the book, Work on Your Game. Y'all see that book right there, Work on Your Game. You can get that at workonyourgamebook.com. Comment is, this is the third closest election in the past 150 years. Okay. And who won? That's all. In the long run, all that matters is who won the election. Who was the president? K-Bo said due process requires a judge. Yes. And the judge says, are you here illegally? Yes. Okay, you got to go. There you go. Done. Next. Again, I'm being hyperbolic, but you get my point. Not everyone gets the same due process. The due process is not the same for every person, even if a judge is involved, assuming that what you're saying is correct, K-Bo. Not Billable said, I'm only saying that we shouldn't be surprised there's pushback on Trump. There's pushback on every president. Name a president who hasn't had pushback. They all have pushback. Virgo Vega said, what Constitution 4 days on due process? Read it, the degree of application. I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. I need you to reword that in proper English and with maybe some punctuation, excuse me. Sonia said a no vote is still a vote. Yes, it is. And not voting at all or voting against, all of those are votes. Livy Lou said, so corruption is a prerequisite to be president. Livy Lou, you just keep throwing straw men out there. Is this the way that you actually communicate with people in your real life? Give me a substantial comment. You can disagree, but put some substance in it. All right, so I was on the FYP page today here. Shout out to TikTok, put me on the FYP. I was on the FYP every morning. Shout out to TikTok. Daniel said it was every morning. Christopher Perez said, when America got problems, they use Democrats or Republicans to fix it. Well, I'm thinking about it. I guess so. I guess that's right. And they're the ones who created too. Derek said, you do sound like you're more of a Trump supporter than anything else, ? Would you agree to that? No, I wouldn't agree to that. And why would it even matter? First of all, several things. Number one, I'm not a supporter of any political party or politician general. I support whoever the president is. So when Biden was the president, I support Biden. When Trump was president, I support Trump. When Obama was president, I support Obama. When Clinton was president, I support Clinton. So I support whoever's in charge because I live here. So I'm not supporting them because of them. I'm supporting them because they're the leader and I live in this country and I want the country to do well. So I would never want the person in charge to fail because that means I'm going to fail because I live here. Number two is a lot of times when I'm talking about these subjects, I get people in here who are clearly disagreeing with me. So they'll try to peg me or they'll try to put me into a box and say, oh, well, you're a MAGA or you're a right wing or you're a Trump supporter. And what that is a way of them in their own minds. And I'm not even saying you necessarily, Derek Young, but anyone, is what we call the poisoning the well fallacy. So the poisoning the well fallacy is when someone says, well, oh, you're right wing or you're MAGA or you're a Trump supporter. So that allows them mentally to discredit anything and everything that you say. Oh, he's a Trump supporter. So anything he says, I don't have to listen to. That's an emotional reaction to your disagreement with a logical point. And the third thing is what I do support is objectivity and logical thinking. That doesn't mean that everything I say is right. And it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that I say. But I'm building my arguments based on a logical frame and my objective observation of what's happening. If you happen to disagree with it, don't try to poison the well by saying, oh, well, you must be this. So that means I have to listen to anything you say. Disagree with what I said and beat me on my point. If my point is wrong, disagree with the point. Don't attack the person because you disagree with the point. And that's where a lot of people tend to fail, especially when they hear something that they don't agree with. They tend to go after the person rather than go after the point. And this is where you get the logical fallacies. This is where you get the straw men. This is where you get the appeals to emotion. This is where you get the relative privation. This is where you get the poisoning the well. When people just hear things they disagree with, they immediately try to figure out a way to basically in their mind cancel out the source of that disagreement rather than just engage with the disagreement. If more people would engage with the disagreement, then we can have better, healthier conversations. Christopher says, no, I already answered that one. Jeremy said, Americans cope hard when our side loses. Yes, they do cope hard. People have been coping about Trump for 10 years. And he's still got 3.5 years left. Drew said, you're so good at calling out people for their BS comments. I love it. I've been doing this for a while, Drew Zoo, so I appreciate it. Back to my basketball days, people would say bullshit when I was talking about basketball. And nowadays, it's actually even easier. So let's see. Girl dad said, just ignore facts and think he's intelligent. I don't know. You talking about me? You talking about somebody else? One thing I will say about your comment, regardless of you're talking about girl dad 25, is that facts don't matter. I've said this many times. Facts do not matter. Let me ask any of you in here. When's the last time you changed somebody's mind by presenting them the facts? And the answer for most of you is you've never done it. You can't get someone to agree with you by presenting them facts that do not jibe with what they want to believe. People believe what they want to believe. And these days, you can find material, facts or otherwise, that co-sign and support anything that you want to believe. Any single thing I want to believe, I can find something that gives me a reason to believe that is true, that will support my belief. So I'm not saying that a fact just on its surface doesn't mean anything whatsoever. So when I say facts don't matter, I'm speaking metaphorically. Again, for those of you who like to, what happens a lot of times is when you say something that people really don't like, they try to dissect it in a literal sense rather than understanding the spirit of my point. The spirit of me saying facts don't matter is not that it doesn't matter that gravity exists. So it doesn't mean go jump off a building, you're going to fly. Yes, the fact of gravity does exist. You're probably going to fall and kill yourself. When I say facts don't matter, what I mean is someone saying that they have a fact or the facts or these facts does not mean that someone has to agree with you, nor does it mean that you're right, nor does it mean that you have an open and shut case just because you have quote unquote facts. It doesn't mean that at all. And again, the proof of it is, when's the last time you got somebody to agree with you and change their mind and do what you wanted them to do just because you presented them some facts? The answer for every one of you listening, we got over 100 people in here between all these streams, is you've never fucking done it, because it doesn't matter. Having the facts, all that does is serve your ego and make you feel good that you're right and somebody else is wrong, but it does not actually prove the point, nor does it achieve the outcome, which is getting people to see what you're seeing. Trying to change people's minds by telling them facts is a waste of time. And so many people are coping, that somebody just said that a few minutes ago, coping by saying, well, here are the facts. And nobody gives a fuck about the facts. Again, a lot of people think Donald Trump doesn't have any facts. And they think there's a whole bunch of facts, damning facts about Donald Trump that disqualify him from being president, from him ever being a leader, from anybody listening to him. There's a bunch of you in here right now who believe there's a bunch of facts that say nobody should follow, listen to, or vote for Donald Trump, yet he's won 2 fucking elections and 3 nominations. So again, what are your facts doing for you? I'm just giving you all examples. Y'all keep talking about facts as if that means something. It doesn't mean any fucking thing. If you want to move people to action, you must persuade them and influence them, not tell them facts. If facts were what move people to action, there'll be a fucking line outside of the library where all of you live. You ever seen a line outside of a library? Why? A library is full of facts. Why ain't nobody there? Because nobody gives a fuck about facts. You want to convince people, you have to influence them. You have to persuade them. Facts may be part of that influence, but if all you have is facts, then again, I can go to the library and get all the facts in the world. Why do I need to talk to you? The library got all the facts. But you do see a line. You never seen a line outside the library, but you see a line outside the movie theater. Is the movies telling you facts? Oh, so I don't understand how people all of a sudden care so much about facts as soon as they hear something they disagree with. Are you spending your life looking for facts and learning facts? Is that helping you? No. If you want to move people to action, you must influence and persuade. Donald Trump is great at influence and persuasion. That's why he won. Kamala Harris is not good at it. That's why she lost. Joe Biden was good enough. That's why he won. Barack Obama was amazing. That's why he won. Bill Clinton, amazing. That's why he won. People who win and get things done in life are good at influencing and persuading. That doesn't mean they don't have facts. You take the facts that you know, and you must contextualize those facts in such a way that it can influence and persuade other people. That's the skill, is mixing your facts with your skill of influence and persuading. It's called communication. Just presenting facts alone is not enough to move people to action. And if it was, then again, explain how Donald Trump won 2 elections. If the facts are so damning against him, how the hell did he win? And people say, oh, well, a lot of people are too dumb. They don't understand the facts. If that's true, then how did all the smart people fail to convince the dumb people? I mean, if you're smarter than somebody, it should be easy for you to mentally manipulate them if you're smarter than them, right? So how'd you fail to do that? You must not be as smart as you think you are. So this has been my arguments against people with these bullshit copes as to why things are not going the way they want them to go. It all sounds good when you're talking to yourself. Real life alters the lab test. Anyway, let's continue. Dowie said, you can't demonize men and then expect. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of these comments here today. Let me see how many we got left. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Where was I? Here it is. You can't demonize men then expect them to vote for you. LOL. Yeah, and you can't send a 400-pound woman to influence men. That doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna send a woman to influence men, she better be very physically attractive, and she better be really good at influence and persuasion. That girl is neither one of those. And what you need to do is actually send a man. Lollipop said it's not a physical fight, it's an intellectual fight. It is now. And here's the thing you need to understand, Lollipops, and all of you need to understand is intellectual fights only exist because we've decided not to have physical fights. But if two people are having an intellectual fight and they can't resolve it, and one person decides they're going to turn it physical, what's the intellectual going to do? You're going to get beat up is what's going to happen. If two men are having an argument in person and we can't settle things verbally, we're going to settle things physically. And if you can't fight, you're going to get beat up. So you might have been right with your facts in that conversation, but you also got your ass whipped. Is that okay? Is that a victory? Is that a moral victory for you? The bottom line in communication between human beings is physical violence. This is the reason why we have wars. If the United States and another country are negotiating and we can't settle it by talking, then okay, we're going to pull the guns out. And who's going to win? We are. That's the reason why we're the most powerful country in the world. And there's only two other countries that have the possibility of doing anything to us because they got big guns too. And that's why there's only three powers right now in the world. All the rest of them are pawns in the game because we can knock them all out if we want to. That's the way life works. So an intellectual fight only exists because we've agreed to have an intellectual fight. But if we decide that we don't want to have an intellectual fight, we're just going to do it physically, your intellect means absolutely nothing. So all the philosophers in the country that we have right now, if we went to war, the philosophers wouldn't matter. Your philosophy only matters in times of peace. In times of war, all that matters is muscles and guns. Period. AY said big women can be feminine. Yes, they can. I was telling you what that woman is. Yes, she can be feminine. The problem is if you're trying to move men to action, the first thing a man is looking at is the visual representation of that woman. That woman's 400 pounds. No man is going to want to listen to what she has to say before she opens her mouth. Just the fact that she's 400 pounds. And every man in here who is willing to be honest will admit to that. And some of you women can admit to it. You don't send a 400-pound woman to, as a general point, influence men. That makes no sense whatsoever. So this is why the Democratic Party, one of the reasons why they're failing right now. So Carlos said, not cool bringing people's kids into the conversation. Not cool at all. Whose kids got brought in? Mama of 3, Sydney said, who are you for? Found you on FYP. Well, thank you for finding me on FYP. Shout out to TikTok. Who am I for? I'm for myself. I did a whole live on this about a month before the election. Who to vote for? The answer was vote for yourself. And I explained exactly what that meant. I spent 2 hours explaining the concept. So that's who I'm for, Mama. If you have a more specific question, you ask it. We're at 146,000 likes. Dolly Mack is right. Let's get to 150, please. Please like the likes. Zeus and Louis said, what do you do for a living? I run a company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is main 4 things we do is speaking, coaching, training, and consulting. And that's working with high-level business professionals, getting them into the top 2% of what they do through a 4-part framework based around mindset, strategy, systems, and implementation. Also accountability. We mixed the last 2 is kind of 2 points in one. Cindy said, I'm not a fan of DJT personally, but voted for him. Right? Fair enough. Yeah, I think a lot of people did. User said, a woman doesn't need to be president. I agree. Generally speaking, I agree that we better off having a man as president. Just as a general point. Snarly said, dude, it's 2025. I know. Cindy said, the left banked too much on Harris getting votes because she's a woman and a person of color. Yeah, well, according to the way they framed it, they didn't have a choice. I think they had a choice and they just decided not to take that choice. They just went with Kamala and it didn't work. Florida girl said, people put too much emphasis on electing women. I don't think women need to be president. Yes, I agree. Natural order is men in charge and a woman is in support of the man. And there's a lot of women who have been they've been mentally poisoned to believe that something's wrong with that or outdated about it. So where are we? Carlos said an open primary would be too much democracy for the Democratic Party. Well, they should have did it. I think they made a mistake. I thought they made a mistake even when they were doing it. So even if it would have been a short period of time, because Kamala wouldn't have won. That's the whole thing. She wouldn't have won. Cass said surgery for arthritis, dental assisting for 30 years. Oh, so you're using your hands and wrists a lot. I had a friend who was a basketball trainer, and he had to stop because his elbows got hurt from throwing the passes. From throwing so many passes, his elbows start bothering him, so he couldn't do it anymore. So I get it. Christina said, what's the deal with Elon? Go on X and follow him on X. He'll tell you exactly what the deal is. He'll tell you more than what you want to know about the deal. User says, nice to see someone talk to use their brain and not their feelings. Well, thank you. I've always been like this. It seems like it's a rare thing now. So I'm glad I'm like this. Piox said, do you support the travel ban? Well, number one, I generally support anything the president decides to do because we voted for the president. And I live here, so I really don't have a choice. Honestly, Piox, what am I supposed to do? Go to the White House and say, don't do it? No, that wouldn't work. And as far as the way it is laid out and the reasons, I just spent the last 2 hours explaining, yes, I do. But I guess you came in late. But if you watched the whole thing. Sonia said, what is FYP? FYP is called the For You page, which is a thing on TikTok that when you open up the app, they take you to a page that's called For You, and it just shows you a bunch of things that I guess they think are trending or that you'd be interested in or that their algorithm is surfacing. And I like when I'm on the For You page because that's how people who otherwise didn't know me could find me. So it's not just my followers who know that I'm live, but even people who weren't following me yesterday can find me on the For You page. So it's a good thing when you're streaming to get on the For You page because it gets you exposed to more people. So when people say FYP, that's what they're referring to. So shout out to TikTok for having me on the For You page. Christina says, should we have a third new party? There's a bunch of other parties. It's probably like 4 or 5 of them. We just don't know what they are and they never win. So there is a third new party, but I don't know. How is it going to happen? We have to tear everything down. There's a lot of entrenched people who don't want to lose their spots. So I'm going to read a few more comments and then we'll wrap this up. I usually stop at 10 o'clock, folks. I'm going to go a little bit longer here today because I've done some long explanations. Hiya Bussa Pilot said, here we go. The most intelligent man in the room in his room. I don't know if that's a compliment or a sarcasm, but I'll take it as a compliment. Question is, Bruce said, will you answer whether you believe the world is flat or round? Well, I've never been to outer space, but based on what we have seen in the pictures, it looks like it's round. But there are people who believe it's flat. I'm open to listen to either argument. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the best you want to get. Lily says, shaming someone while proving your point will be better than just talking about facts. Is that a joke or are you serious? But okay. We're at 150,000 likes, folks. Can we get a few more before we wrap it up? Sonia said, the left doesn't understand you speak from a literal point of view. They lack comprehension. Well, sometimes I'm being literal. Sometimes I'm being metaphorical. But I try to explain that to people. I think most people generally understand it. I mean, if you're an adult, you've had enough conversations that you understand when I'm being metaphorical and when I'm being literal. When I say that's out of this world, I don't literally mean it's out of the galaxy. Most people understand that. It's just when they disagree, people tend to take the other meaning of whichever one. If I say something literally you disagree with, people tend to turn it metaphorical. If I say something metaphorical, people disagree with, then they tend to take it literal. So when I say if you didn't vote for Trump, you still voted for Trump because you're an American citizen, people take that literally and say, oh, well, I didn't vote for Trump. And you said that still means I vote. So you're trying to literally dissect what I said just to show your disagreement when you get the fucking point. And if you don't get the point, then I'm sorry I went over your head. Carlos said, facts don't matter, makes me laugh. Well, hey, it's true. They don't. Marky said, you are my secondary education. All right, I'll take that. Thank you. Angela said, I voted for Clinton. Which Clinton? Hillary or Bill? I wasn't old enough to vote when Bill ran. Antonia said, Lizzo doesn't influence men? Straw man question. Oh, you're kidding. All right. You said right after that, you're kidding. One thing I will say about Lizzo is that she's actually not a bad musician. I was listening to Lizzo's album. What's the name of that album Lizzo put up? I know I got it in my Apple Music, but I listened to the album. It actually wasn't bad. I was actually surprised. This album was called Special. This album was not bad. So this album has 12 songs on it. This is Lizzo's album, came out in 2022. I don't know if she has more albums. I haven't listened to them. Now, I guess I'll tell you something about Lizzo in a second. First thing I'll say about Lizzo is that on this album is 12 tracks. And if y'all can see that, you see those little red stars? Those are the songs that I liked because I actually liked the song. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these 12 songs I actually marked as liked. I actually like this song. Lizzo is not a bad musician. She's actually pretty good. Better than I used to think. Better than I thought she would be based on her public persona. She's better than I thought. However, if Lizzo was asking me, Lizzo should not be walking around with her ass out and showing. She shouldn't be walking around as if she's 125 pounds dressed like that. She should not do that. But she clearly has bought into doing that. She shouldn't do that. But Lizzo is actually not a bad musician. So shout out to Lizzo. And Mr. Ohio said Lizzo ain't big no more. What is her size? What's her size now? Mr. Ohio J, how much does Lizzo weigh right now today? I think she's still big. Depends on, we may have different definitions of big. Florida gal said, you send a very attractive woman. Yes, you send a very attractive woman. That's right. Florida said, I didn't hear any kids. You don't hear any kids because I'm in my office and the doors are closed, so you don't hear them. Lizzo, yeah, somebody tell me, give me a current ETA on Lizzo's weight. I think she's still big. And did she lose weight by working out, or is she taking Ozempic? That's the two questions I got for everybody. How much does Lizzo weigh right now? And if you think she took Ozempic, put Ozempic in the comments, and put working out if you think she got it there by working out. Whatever amount of weight she lost. I did hear she lost some weight. Joe said, that is ridiculous. Support just because you voted for him. LMAO, get a grip. I didn't say that. I said support because I live here, whether I voted for him or not, even if I don't vote at all. If I don't vote at all in 2028 and Stephen A. Smith wins the election, I still support Stephen A. Smith because he's the president and I live here. You understand that? That's the logic. I didn't say support because I voted for him. I said support because they're the president. Thank you, Marky Man. You're welcome, Sonia. Victoria said, don't know what to think of the Elon Trump issue. Could they be playing a game of chess with us? Everybody said that. I talked about that earlier today, Victoria, so I don't know if you missed it at the beginning. Wild Cherry said, are you available for booking Q&A discussions? Yes, send me a direct message. My assistant will get back to you. Or you can send an email to marielle@dreallday.com. I got to put that. I'm going to put that on my Work on Your Game live page. So, by the way, since you asked, I have a page that is made specifically for those of you who are on this live to know what to do next. It is this page right here. It's workonyourgame.live. It's the link in my bio on TikTok. So the link in my bio is there. O-Dog said, Lizzo lost weight, but she's still big. That said, I'm not following them on no matter who she is. You know she took the Ozempic. So how many of y'all think she took Ozempic? Generally, I find people to be generally lazy. So if somebody loses a lot of weight and they're showing it off, I'm thinking they didn't do that in the gym. So on this page, I'm going to put my assistant's email address. I don't think it's on here right now. But if any of you want to reach me for like interviews or anything like that, then you can just email my assistant or just go to this page. You'll see a lot of my contact info. Or just send me a DM on TikTok. My assistant will see it. She'll get to you. Hoops and Blooms. I hate when people purposely don't understand metaphors. Well, they do understand. They pretend to not understand is what people do. Someone said she really is, though. What, a good artist? She actually is good. Hoops and Bloom said, saw her perform live in concert. Good show. I would believe that you're telling the truth. Stacy said Ozempic. She has always worked out even when she was bigger. So that means it's Ozempic then. She was working out. She was 400 pounds. And what the hell is the problem? She needed to fire her trainer. So she needed to fire her trainer or get a new nutritionist, whatever she's eating in the kitchen. Because you said you can't outwork a bad diet. So a lot of people say Ozempic. Crystal said, I love President Trump. Misty said, we should all support our president. Yeah, everybody should support the president, even if you didn't vote for him. So a lot of people think Ozempic. Yeah, I think she's probably taking a drug. Whenever I see somebody who was fat and then they come out and they're showing everybody that they lost weight, I'm like, if you really lost weight, we would have been watching you lose weight the whole time. But you went from fat and then we didn't see you. Then all of a sudden you popped up skinny or you lost some weight. You probably took a drug. And these days people will do the cheap thing rather than doing the work. Just a general rule. I have too much experience with human beings to believe that a bunch of people are just all of a sudden finding the gym just because. Now, people find the gym if they were already working out. I see older people in the gym lifting weights or picking up a sport, but some fat person who was fat when we first met them, now all of a sudden you're skinny because you're getting a lot of negative attention for being fat. Now all of a sudden you're skinny. I don't believe it. O-Dog says she was working out but still eating. Yeah, exactly. So she's still eating. She just ate some Ozempic and now she's skinny. Now how much does Lizzo weigh? Lizzo's probably still got to be over 300 pounds. So that's still fat to me. So, hey, to each their own. There's somebody for everybody. Now, I know some fat men and they still have female options. So the world is the world. All right. All that being said, folks, I usually end these lives at 10 o'clock Eastern. We're at 10:09 a.m. Eastern. So it's a good time to end this. We got to 154,000 likes here today. Thank you to my moderators for helping me. Carla, Dally, Matt, Courtney, a bunch of y'all were in here. Not everybody can stay all day. Traditional all day. I see you as well. Thank you all, y'all. I will be back here on Monday. The topic we don't know yet. We might talk about these ICE agents walking around with the masks on. We might talk about P. Diddy / Puffy. We might talk about that trial again because I heard some things happen yesterday. I got to read up on it and find out what happened. we'll get into all of that. If you want anything from me, send a DM. My assistant will get back to you as far as like contacting me, interviews, etc. Workonyourgame.live. That's where you can get all the feedback from what we talked about here. So my YouTube channel, my X account, my Instagram, my what else? My group coaching programs, my free books. You want to get any of my books for free? You see, I got them listed here. Free book, free book, free book is all listed right there. Go to workonyourgame.live. That's the link in my bio on TikTok. Shout out to TikTok for the For You page. Shout out to TikTok for not banning me or restricting me today. We did a good job. Learn more every day about what words you can say and can't say. Everybody have a great weekend, great Friday. I will see you all Monday morning when the travel ban will be in place. We are out of here. Alpha 94, appreciate you over there on Instagram. We out. Everybody have a great weekend. Oh, dog, that's right. Everybody has options, more than we would think.